morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 4 and episode number 445 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Cryo Media Network. Boo, 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 boo. Today, recording day is Monday, August 12th, 2024, and it's going to be mixed day here at the Beaver Lodge. Little sun, little cloud. It's feeling a little like autumn this morning, as Kit, Mr. Jim, has noted also in the chat. Was outside for a little bit earlier this morning for doing the show. Get a couple of breaths of fresh air before coming in to greet you all. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, hey. And with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly, showing us from the Grizz Cam what Ottawa looks like. It's a little nicer than here, I have to say. Not much, but a little nicer than here. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Mr. Grizzly, you took a weekend off. How's your mental health today, sir?
Well, sir, my mental health, I think, is good, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I say that because I barely slept the last 4 nights.
Ooh.
Well, and it's... Here's the funny thing. So anybody who is on sertraline, aka Zoloft, like I am, will know that the dreams you get while you are on that medication are insanely vivid.
Mm.
And oftentimes in my dreams, I am running or working out or exercising or riding a bike or chasing somebody or being chased or something silly like that, because they're dreams and you can't control them.
So you're training for the Dream Olympics?
Yeah, well, the thing is I wake up in a sweat, dehydrated, and my muscles ache and hurt. And usually I wake up thinking, did any of that happen? No, it didn't. So you struggle. There's the mental struggle with, oh my God, oh, no, none of those things happened. None of that was real. But you're physically exhausted. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, because without the medication, life is miserable. With the medication, I'm happy and can accept, the way life is. But I haven't had a good night's sleep in a while. So
that was,
just how it is.
That was me last week, but mostly because the Beaver sweetie kept on snoring right on cue between 3:30 and 4:20 in the morning.
That'll do it.
He's got a schedule. All right, kids and cubs. My mental health doing pretty darn good, actually.
Good.
I actually over the course
you
of
were
the weekend,
struggling for a bit there. Eh?
Yeah, last week was really rough.
Yeah.
Well, it's let's be honest, it's been a rough past 2 something months, given that we're still having issues with one of our contractors. We might actually have to go to small claims.
Sure.
and then the car accident, and then all of that kind of stuff. So,
Mhm.
and whereas I've been doing better than my Beaver sweetie has, but of course that's kind of natural because my Beaver sweetie was in the accident and I was not. And my Beaver sweetie had more interactions one-on-one with the contractor than I have. So he's been experiencing a lot of that a little more intensely than I have. But it's when things are not going right for the person you love, things are not going right for you.
Yeah,
So
I understand.
so yeah, it is. So yeah, but last week I hit a wall and had like an uncharacteristic, really uncharacteristic. I don't think I had a dip that bad since my mom passed away, and that's about 20
Oh,
years ago.
yeah.
Like that was it was just like yeah, and when my mom passed away, it wasn't just a dip. I mean,
No,
that
it's
was
crushing.
crushing. But yeah, fortunately, it was the worst of it was short lived. The worst of it was 48 hours, but there was sort of something leading into it and a little bit coming out of it. But yeah, I can always tell how it is by the way I'm on the tennis court
Right.
because I figured that going to play tennis was a good way to relieve your stress when you have this because you're just going out and you're going to smack something, right?
Hmm.
And you can only think of the ball. But if you are minimally stressed anywhere in your body, it shows up in the court. The balls just start to spray. There's a level of looseness and relaxed
Cheers.
state that you need to be in to play well enough, or even to be able to play to your abilities. And like I went on the court last weekend. There's a guy that I play with often who's way better than me, way
Mhm.
better than me. But I still managed to get some rallies in. Yes, and and my objective when I'm playing with someone that's real better is that much better is that we have an hour, and it's
Mhm.
for them not to get to 8 before the hour's up.
Right.
I make the points last. I put up a good fight, so I'm not. But it was like after 4 minutes, I was down 3-0. After 7, I was down 5-0.
Ouch.
I just everything coming off my rack was spraying, and I thought I was in a good mood when I went.
Turns out not
Relax.
so much.
And like this, and I was just so wound so tight that nothing was happening. That after 5, it was like I just like, can we just rally?
Mhm.
I'll give you the 8. I'm just like because every single shot that was landing, that was going right by me, was just killing my confidence. And I was like, I started this. I was just getting smaller and smaller. It's like I don't want to hate this game,
Right.
so can we just? So, unfortunately, he was nice enough to accommodate. But yesterday I went to play someone again for the first time, but who's much better than me. And
Mhm.
it's I won for the
Oh,
first 5 games. I was like really there. I was playing like way above my ability, way above my ability. I
right.
actually like took 3 games off him, 3 games in a row. I was actually up 3-2 at one point. And then my regular level of competence at tennis came back. I lost 8-3. But for like for us, and the match ends 7-3 before the time was over. So I reached 2 of my goals actually, get more than 1 against someone who's really good and have the time not expire. So I came back feeling like I'd won Wimbledon.
Mhm.
Even though I lost 7-3. So doing really, really good. And that's how I know I'm in a good state. If I could play someone that would blow me off the court and get a couple of really have a little impressive run during it, then it's like, yes. So I am feeling good. I am happy to report. In the news, Kits and Cubs.
Where to
Not
begin? Where to
Well, really
begin?
been. There's not really any big story, which is interesting because you'd expect that there would be. But let's talk about something that might seem a little trivial. Yesterday, the
Okay, go
Olympics
ahead.
finally ended.
Yes, I
Uh,
wanted to get to that. I have something here from Colin DeMello.
yeah, okay.
But we'll
And
go ahead.
Canada record-breaking performance.
In a
Now
non-boycotted.
everybody has to put the asterisks in the non-boycotted games, but let's just
Well, and
let,
in a non-boycotted games, that means there's actually the competition level is higher and better because there's more countries.
exactly. And
So
let's
I know we have to put the asterisks, but I don't like to.
No, neither do I. And
It's like
there's
most ever.
we all know about 1980 and 1984, and those were abnormal. This,
Yeah.
but for an Olympics, like an Olympics is supposed to be held, this was a record haul.
Yes, and
Yes,
there was
and it keeps on
200
going up.
nations, I think.
Yeah,
Mhm.
206 nations, I think.
Like absolutely every country that exists sent someone.
Yeah, so there are way more nations now also than there was back then. I'm not sure. Some people said, "Oh, it would have been higher if Russia didn't compete." Russians did compete. The Russian Olympic Committee
Mhm.
are the ones who were banned. I'm not sure if there were whatever they call the team Russia had as many athletes as it normally would for an Olympics. But hey, if we were affected, so was everybody else. That means the United States and China and Japan and France and the Netherlands all got more medals as well too. So let's forget that. It's like this is not a non-boycotted games. The Russian Olympic Committee was banned.
That's right.
Because they cheated, and they're still cheating, and they don't want to fix it.
Well, and 1 second here. I just gotta.
Yes, and the invasion of Ukraine and all that other stuff. So record haul and really good haul because the Nielsen forecasters had originally predicted 24 and cut us down to 20. We did better. It was 27, if I remember correctly. More gold than ever before, more silver than ever before, more bronze than ever before. So you really can't ask for better. And that is with blowouts.
Yes.
Right? The basketball teams didn't do what they expected because the soccer team got saddled with the drone gate. They didn't do what people had hoped to expected. In track and field, it was rainy when Sarah Mitten was doing shot put, and even though her last shot would have
she stepped
by
out
a lot, there's two little lines in the center on the sides to the center of the circle, and you have to exit the circle on the other side of those lines. And she didn't because she slipped. So,
and that's
them's are the rules.
You can't change the rules when it comes to that. It's like, you know what? You compete in that conditions, and you got to observe the rules.
Yeah,
it sucks, but that's how it is. And she accepted it. She didn't complain. She's like, no, that's the sport. She knows this.
It's the same for everyone.
Yeah.
A lot of our middle distance runners got struck by a stomach bug. DeGrasse, a couple of days before the stellar 4x100 relay race, had some trouble with his hamstrings. So didn't make the finals of the 200. I mean, there was lots of medals that we expected from certain spots that did not come, but we had tons of people step up.
Pierce Lepage and Damian Warner, Pierce Lepage didn't even enter the competition because he's still suffering from injury. And Damian Warner had to drop out due to injury. So who knows, man? I mean, that's the games, though. That's how they are.
That's the games.
That's athletics. And
that's why it's the ultimate reality TV. One moment every 4 years.
Yeah.
Can you deliver in the clutch? Number one. And number two, hey, if you happen to pick up a stomach bug on the day of your competition, it sucks.
What was it?
And you're at home going, "Oh, come on again."
Who was the American sprinter? Tyler.
Noah Lyles.
Wow, I keep wanting to say Tyler for some reason. Noah Lyles, who has COVID now, and he competed in the 200 and got beaten by Letsili from Botswana, and released that he had COVID after he ran the race. I'm like, should you have even been competing at that point? Like, I mean, really, you are putting other people at risk.
They should not have been.
He should not have been competing. And they tried to use... Wait, let me rephrase that. I say that him coming out and telling everybody that he had COVID after he ran the race was his excuse for why he didn't win.
That's what it comes across as.
That's my personal opinion. It certainly comes across in that way. It's like, wait a minute, why were you even running if you have COVID? People go, look, it was heroic. No, he shouldn't have been competing. You put others at risk.
Happened at the pool too. Adam Peaty from Great Britain. I think he ended up with the bronze in his 200 breaststroke too, but then found out the next day people were showing up around the pool with masks on because They didn't know. So again, I don't know if it's people that weren't feeling well and then decided, oh,
Smart
well,
as go.
it may
Right.
be, so I'm not testing. And
Mhm.
then I'll go and compete. And after my competitions, I'll go, oh, darn, it was COVID or, right. But yeah, well, because that's the thing, those are the details we don't know. So did you take the test before you competed or you weren't feeling well and you decided that ignorance is bliss, so you didn't take the test until after you competed? Because if you take the test before you compete, then you can't go.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
apparently he knew before. So
that part I don't know specifically, but if you have information of that, but yeah, uh, I understand
mhm,
it's a once in a 4-year thing. I
I get it.
understand, I get it, like this, but it's like you have it, you shouldn't be there. You just shouldn't. All right, um, but beautiful Olympics.
I thought they were great.
Great Olympics. Surprisingly, no drama because a lot of it, I mean, they really said they were really calling it open air Olympics. Didn't seem to be, I didn't hear anything about attacks or potential terrorist threat
No.
or anything whatsoever. Everything went smoothly. There didn't seem to be conflicts among nations. There didn't seem to be, it just, and I mean, I don't know if it was just because last time there weren't that the crowds weren't there. It was just the support staff
Mhm,
that
mhm.
families happened to travel with them that happened to be there.
It is
Or
a detraction, right? Because you don't have the cheering crowds. It kind of takes away from the moment for the Olympians.
well, I mean, the whole you think of it like the Olympics, right? The big stadium, the roar of the
Yeah,
entire crowd, like
and there's
all,
none.
all that was not there, right? Um, but you, I don't know, like one of the reasons I love the Olympics for many reasons, but one of the reasons I love the Olympics is that you literally have everybody from all over the world living together peacefully, competing ferociously. You see people are happy for other people's success. You see people from other teams trying to console other people when things go wrong. You see all of that. I mean, you got people from North Korea. I saw gymnasts from North Korea do a really great vault like this. And then there was like, as she's coming off, people from all over, like putting their hands up for high fives and all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. And I'm imagining what that athlete has been told all her life in North Korea about all the world. And then she comes to the
And
Olympics,
sees
whatnot,
this.
like this, and she's getting hugs and whatnot from all the people who are apparently evil and mean and right. So it just seemed to be that this time around, there was much more of that sportsmanship. I saw many more instances of it than I normally see. Sarah Mitten, when she was disqualified, she didn't leave the track. She sat there on the bench and cheered for everyone else.
Yeah.
She stayed. Um, the boxer from the refugee team that defeated the Canadian in the first round, when they had that big hug and embrace, she actually went ahead and won that gold medal.
Mhm.
As Tamara told us, you better go win this thing now.
Well, and,
And
and
she did.
the story, I don't know if you heard yesterday from our friend Devin talking about how Katie Ledecky's mom, after Katie Ledecky won an award, won a gold,
Mhm.
Katie Ledecky's mom came over to talk to Devin to say to her, not talk about her daughter. She came over and said, "What a night for Canada! Summer's something to watch." She's I'm like, holy shit.
Well, Katie Ledecky's mom would know,
Yeah, yeah. Katie
'cause
Ledecky's the greatest swimmer in history, right?
right? So,
She has more records than Michael Phelps, I believe. I
probably.
believe. I got to double check that.
It would not surprise me, would not surprise me. Just, her career has just been so long
Yes,
because and it looks like she might even come back one more time.
she's 27, so she could come back and compete again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, especially how good she is in her discipline of choice. Um, so yeah,
9 Olympic gold medals, 21 World Championship gold medals, the most in history for a female swimmer. With 14 medals and 9 gold, she is also the most decorated American woman, most decorated female swimmer, the female with the most gold medals, tied with Larissa Latinina,
oh,
and
yes.
the 5th most decorated athlete in Olympic history. Sorry, I was wrong. She won a record 16 individual gold medals at the World Aquatics Championships. Ledecky's 8 individual medals at the Olympics and 26 overall medals at the World Aquatics are records in women's swimming. So, yeah.
And does not count all the world records and Olympic records and national records set all along the way.
Well, and her
She
first
keeps on getting
Olympics
better
were
and better.
2012 in London when she was 15, and
Yeah.
she won gold in the women's 800-meter freestyle.
Yep.
So
She's phenomenal.
Yeah, she really is.
She's phenomenal. So, I mean, being in the mentioned in the same breath. Right?
Yeah.
Summer.
Well,
We've got a
Katie's
lot
mom
to look.
knows.
Yes.
She sees Summer in the pool and goes, she's going to capture all the records.
Yes.
It's her
So
next.
that's what I mean. Katie Ledecky's mom would know she's seen the ultimate in excellence for 12 years now.
Yes.
So running. So yeah. And then if not more, if you count her whole junior career and all that kind of stuff, because she was probably tearing it up then too, I would assume.
Yeah.
So yeah, these were great games. And, it's like surprise, like we got a medal in fencing. We came within 1 point in the team match of getting a second one.
Yes.
Like, when did we become good at throwing things? When did we, other than a fit? When it's just, trampoline, we're used to getting medals because of Rosie McLennan, and
Rosie had what, 3? 2 or 3?
Yeah, 3 medals in total, yeah. And then I think it was Karen Black, I think her name was, before that. They're just right, but that tradition is maintained. The 3 golds in athletics, that's pretty darn good for us. So judo, breaking, the first and only, and probably might be the only medal ever in breaking in the Olympics, because it's not included in LA 2028, which really surprised me.
Yeah, it's LA,
right? It's like the United States is the home of breaking.
Yeah, that's where it came from. New York City.
Exactly, and that's what I was about to say. Other than LA, the only other city in which it would not make sense that it was not there, that would make more not sense that it was not there, is New York City. Cricket and lacrosse are going to be in 2028, but breaking will not be there. So might be the first.
Boxing, by the way. Boxing's not in the 2028 Olympics in LA.
Really?
So we may have seen the final boxing match in Olympic history after having been there for 120 years. The first one was in 1904, which was the 3rd Olympics. And yeah, that's it. Boxing's not in 2028.
Oh, I had not heard of that at all.
Yeah, I read about that the other day. I was kind of surprised. I don't know why. Like, why after 120 years they're taking it out? I don't understand.
Neither do I.
Because they think it's too violent. Which, wait a minute. Isn't the United States of America the country of the NFL?
Beats me, man. There's no rhyme or reason. But no, I hadn't heard anything about boxing not being in there. That's really interesting.
It's not in 2028 as it stands. That could change. That is 4 years from now. It could change. But as it stands, it is not included. And it doesn't look like it's included in the follow-up Olympics either. So it might be gone forever.
Wow. I think they're bringing baseball back too. I think in 2020, that one keeps on coming in and leaving and going in and leaving. For some
it's
reason.
coming down a couple of hundred. What is softball still in there? Because it was for a little bit, and I think it's gone again. I can't remember.
Yeah,
I don't think there was softball this year.
No, there was not softball this year.
Okay.
Yeah,
because that's come and gone a couple of times, right?
Yeah, as well. Yeah, indeed. Oh, there we go. We've got something from NBC here. Here are the sports leaving and entering the LA Games. Because you were mentioning it here. Though most sports from the Paris Olympics, this is from NBC, will be maintained in the Los Angeles program for 2028. Breaking is among the sports that will be dropped from the rotation, joining another mainstay that has been contested at every Olympics since 1948. What's leaving? Breaking, boxing, as you said. Yeah, indeed. So those are the only 2 that are leaving. And the new sports that are coming are flag football and squash. Flag football will be contested both men's and women's division, playing 5-on-5 on a 50-yard field with no offensive linemen, according to the IOC. Squash is a racket sport. Well, we know that, played by singles or doubles players in a 4-walled court. So it seems that the World Squash Federation has tried on several occasions to get squash into the Olympics, but was finally successful in 2028. Sports like
It's long
flag football.
overdue, if you ask me.
Yeah, the sport like flag football will be considered optional and may not return after the LA Games conclude. And then 4 sports are returning. Baseball and softball will return. Let's see, baseball was an optional sport several times over the years, but it was finally added as a permanent sport in 1992 Olympics. It was dropped after 2008, but re-added by Tokyo as an optional sport. According to officials, it's expected that at the 2032 Olympics in Brisbane will also include baseball. Softball was first added to the Olympics in 1996 in Atlanta, contested each year until it was removed after the 2008 Games. It came back in 2020 in Tokyo and was not contested in Paris, but will return to LA. And then lacrosse, first time since 1908, will be returning. And in the United States, President Joe Biden had announced a while ago that the United States is going to send a lacrosse team, I think exclusively with athletes from 6 nations. United States. So that will be really interesting. And then cricket will be returning after 120 years. It was only contested once during the 1900 Games in Paris.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And cricket's really interesting because it's making there's a resurgence, particularly in Canada. We now actually have a cricket league that I just found out about because the Prime Minister was there yesterday, showed up. He's just popping up for the final. There's a T20 league in Canada. Again, I have no idea what T20 means, so I can't explain. But it's a format of curling because they're curling matches, cricket matches that last more than one day, and then there are the one-day events. Sometimes I'm watching it on the score counters every now and then, and sometimes you see lunch break. And it's sort of because the matches are long enough. And it's like, and hey, I'm all for a sport that takes a break for lunch. Just saying. That seems like my kind of sport. I would get the lunch part down. Not sure how I would be good at bat or at pitching like this, but lunch, I can master. Sign me up for cricket.
Come for sandwiches?
Exactly. But the Montreal Tigers played the Toronto Nationals, and the Toronto Nationals won by 8 wickets. I do not know if that's a lot. I can't tell. But
no,
yeah,
it's not a lot. No,
but
sometimes you can have like, I don't know, 180 runs to 0, and it's because the other team hasn't gone to bat yet. So I don't think that's a lot at all.
Okay. But yeah, the Canadian Prime Minister, Mr. Justin Trudeau, did show up there because I was scrolling the Twitter yesterday and saw this right here.
I'm just trying to bring it up. My computer's acting very strange right now.
So the passion for cricket keeps growing across Canada, building on the sport's long legacy here and showing the power of sport in uniting communities. In Brampton, Prime Minister Trudeau attended the Global T20 Canada Finals to celebrate with players and fans alike.
Well, there is a cricket pitch basically on his front lawn because he stays at Rideau Cottage on the grounds of the Governor General's residence, and there is a cricket pitch there and a cricket club, and has been for like over a century.
Yeah, they just installed one, I think, 2-3 years ago in the park right close to my place. There's people playing. So that's what I mean. It is becoming more popular. Well, Canada made the World Cup of cricket this year. Actually got picked up a victory along the way, which was really cool. But this Canada Global T20 League in here has 6 teams, one in Montreal, one in Brampton, one in Mississauga, one in Toronto, one in Surrey, and one in Vancouver. So it's a 6-team league. And like I said, they just finished their playoffs with the Toronto Nationals winning. So, and then there's an international cricket league, and Canada is in the 2nd tier of nations right now, and they're playing. And Canada has so far, I think it's an 8-team 2nd tier, has won all of their matches except for one so far. So I think there are 5 victories and 1 loss, or 4 victories and 1 loss on the tour. And again, cricket's a little hard to follow because when I'm watching the standings, Canada's at 5 games played, but there are certain countries that are already at 8 games played. So not exactly, the schedules get flipped, and often there are games that are abandoned at cricket and something. So, so I'm not exactly sure how it works, but given the team in first place has 7 matches played, if you do the thing with games in hand, Canada technically would be in first. So I don't know if that promotes them up to the tier 1 league after or something, but Canada's whatever Cricket Canada is doing to build the sport, it seems to be working. So who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe a surprise medal 4 years from now in LA from Canada in cricket. You never know.
Well,
That's the wonderful thing about being a wonderful cultural mosaic.
Well, we got a large South Asian diaspora here, so
Absolutely. I mean, that's how soccer got better too.
yes, because people who have come to this country who grew up playing that sport and didn't know anything about hockey, who have since learned and fallen in love and starting to take over the sport of hockey, which I'm very happy about because it's been a little too pale for my taste for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. I think hockey's pale. Try curling.
Yeah, curling really needs to diversify. It does, and we're starting to see.
It's starting. I am no longer the entire all of cultural diversity at my curling club anymore.
Right. Well, what I was going to say was, as evidenced by Josh Liendo in swimming in Canada, he said, he had nobody to look up to.
Right.
When he started swimming here, and his parents immigrated here, and he did all the usual young Canadian boys sports when he was a young boy, because he's a young man now. Hockey and soccer and football and all of that, but it was swimming that he fell in love with, and thank goodness he did, because my goodness gracious, made us all so proud. And you watch him in the next Olympics.
Oh yeah, and
he's just beginning,
and he came very, very close to being a multiple medalist. So it's like
he was a whisker within
0.02 seconds. Yeah. Yes. And yes, and that silver was almost gold too, but 0.02 seconds from being away from bronze in the 50 as well, that he was not even supposed to be in the final.
No.
And then we learned in the closing days how 1/100th of a second can make all the difference, with Katie Vincent winning the gold in the 200 meter canoe sprint.
I thought it was 1/1000th.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Is it 1/1000th or 1/100th? It might be 1/1000th. Yeah, sorry.
It was 1/1000th of a second, yeah.
And then on the track, Marco Arap.
Yes.
Silver by 1/100th or 1/1000th.
It's literally a whisker.
Literally a whisker. But it can literally make all the difference. And Canada saw it firsthand twice in one day, once on the track, once on the water, once it going in our favor, and once it not.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, I mean, and the interviews with the athletes, that was the other thing. Devin Heru made the comment during the closing ceremonies. Whether our athletes won, whether our athletes lost, it was the same attitude.
Yep, every single time. Nobody whined or complained. They were just, happy to compete, of course. Not, in past Olympics, I'm just happy to be here. And that was a legitimate statement, a legitimate emotion. Because, 30, 40 years ago, and I'm not going to include the 84 Olympics in LA because it was a boycotted games. But you look back in the 76 Olympics in Montreal, we didn't win a gold medal. We only won like 4 or 5 medals, I think, in that entire Olympics. And everybody who was interviewed, they were just happy to be there.
We're the only host nation to have not won a gold medal at their own Olympics, and we did it twice.
Yeah, the third time we won all of the gold medals.
And then we decided, okay, that we've been Canadian enough now.
Yeah, we're taking them all, thank you.
It's such an honor to be hosting. No, you take all the gold medals. Really, it would be rude for us to take one. Well, we fixed that in Vancouver.
And now they're grateful to be there, without a doubt, but they're also grateful to have competed the way they did. And even in defeat, they were glorious and thankful and grateful, but also saying, watch me next time.
Right. Exactly.
Like they weren't just giving up to, I'm so happy to have competed. It was like, I'm grateful to be here. I'm happy to be here. We had a great competition. I gave it my best. Today was not my day.
Yep.
Which is a polite way of saying, watch me next time.
Exactly. And here's the thing too, because I'm hearing all these nasty comments. It's like, if you were like for Marco Arap, because now this wasn't referring to him, but it's a comment that could apply to him from the negative Nancy's and the armchair quarterbacks, the only thing they left is a bag of chips. Sitting there goes like, if you were expected to win and you finished second like this, you're a loser. No. Marco Arap finished second by 1/100th of a second by recording his best ever time in the race by
Was
a
that a
lot.
Canadian record too?
Yeah. Whether you win, lose, or finish dead last at the Olympics, if you have done your personal best in the
Yeah.
process, you have won. You have won. One moment in time, the whole world watching. You only get one shot. Some of these sports, like trampoline, it's like you make a mistake, your routine is done. That's it. You don't get to continue. Some of
Mhm.
these sports, 100-meter dash, less than 10 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, and all of
You
them
get one
ran
shot.
sub 10.
Right. But you get one shot.
Yeah.
Right. What happens then? That's the whole thing. So yes, as Carol says, Carol, to even go was an honor. But you're sitting there, it's like you've run your race. You look at the finish line, and that was the best time you've ever done,
Mhm.
or the highest score you've ever gotten.
Your PB,
Yes.
your personal best, right?
Yeah. In that one moment, I don't care what anybody says, that's a win. To achieve the summit of your own personal human ability
Mhm.
at a specific moment in a specific time when it counts is the ultimate in human achievement on an individual basis. It's the ultimate.
And boy, are the American 4x100-meter relay team getting roasted.
Yeah, which is not fair.
No. I mean, sure, they were cocky in the World Championships.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the rivalry with Canada? Who? With Canada. Who?
Now you know. Just saying.
Remember, your neighbors to the north are quiet and polite until we're fucking not.
Andre DeGrasse really took the high road too.
He did.
Asked about it, and yes, he did. So again, confirming our reputation as some of the nicest people in the world. But
That's
yes,
karma for you, right?
oh yeah, some would say that because I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that.
No.
But
And I feel bad for them in they ran a terrible race. The 4x100-meter relay, they ran a terrible race. They did.
Yep.
The exchanges were bad. Their starts were like they struggled.
Yep.
And I feel bad for them because you hate to see somebody lose that badly, even
in
when
that
it is your
way.
biggest rival. Yeah, exactly. And then they were disqualified. They came in 7th and then they were disqualified.
Yep.
So, I did feel bad for them a little bit. I mean, I felt more joy than anything else.
We had mixed emotions.
Well, it was bronze, silver, and then gold in the last 3 Olympics, right?
Yes, a full set.
And the Americans lost in '96 to Team Canada.
Yes.
And then they won in 2000.
Yep.
And haven't won anything since.
Mm-hmm. No medals.
Nothing. In 24 years.
Yep.
Nothing. Not a bronze, not a silver, nothing. So their relay team is less of a team and more of 4 individuals.
Yeah, they don't practice it specifically. And our team has been together like for the last 2 or 3 Olympics, right? So they made a big deal of training for it specifically.
Yes, but each individual failed to make it to the finals.
Yep.
In their events, but the 200, 100, they didn't make it to the finals.
Which shows you running as a unit is different than running individually.
As an individual, yeah.
It really is. And people, 2 of the 4 have almost lost their voices. You see them in interviews yesterday. It's like, I can't really talk. I was screaming so loud for Andre to run.
Yeah. I thought that was funny. There was a few runners in there that had that same sort of take. I kind of lost my voice because I was screaming for Andre and the team.
There was Shireen Ahmed, if you have been paying attention to her, has been doing some really incredible work. And I'm hoping that we get to interview her at some point one day. I would love to.
Well, her take on Team Canada women's soccer after their first match, she goes, and they won the match, but I'm not going to drone on about it.
Yep. It was just like, oh, I love you right now. I'm in love.
There were a lot of people who got bent out of shape. Now, if it
Yes.
had been Ron McLean who said that, people would have thought that was hilarious. But because, the non-white woman who wears a hijab said it.
Yes. So she has been covering wonderful stuff. She has a wonderful essay on the soccer team that if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend. But when it closed, she wrote an essay
Oh,
about a woman from Afghanistan who was in breakdancing.
okay.
Who
Must be tough for her. I mean,
mhm, yeah.
that's,
Now I'm guessing that she was from the Olympic refugee team.
yeah, must have hailed from Afghan.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think Afghanistan actually had anybody entered in the Olympics. I could be wrong.
I'm not sure. I'd have to check if they had someone,
I'll
if they
check
had a
on that.
team.
You just
But
keep going, and I'll check on that now. in the
she
background.
wore a cape when she was
Really?
breakdancing that on the back said "Free Afghan Woman,"
Yes, and she was disqualified for that, I
and she
think?
was disqualified because there's a rule about political messaging. And Shireen Ahmed writes, by the time the Paris 2024 Olympics began, more than 120 million people around the world were refugees. This means that they have survived being forcibly displaced worldwide and have faced persecution, conflict, violence, or human rights violations. Families being torn apart, missing your homeland, and support systems are not ideal conditions for athletes to excel. But losing sport entirely is also traumatizing, and since 2016, the International Olympic Committee found a way to keep displaced athletes in sport and created the Refugee Olympic Committee so that athletes who had to flee or evacuate but did not have citizenship would not be lost to the sports world. The athletes representing the EOR, Équipe Olympique des Réfugiés, that's how they're known, in Paris, are there not only because of their physical strength, but because of defiant determination and unbreakable spirit to continue in sports despite the most unfathomable conditions. I wrote about the first EOR during Rio 2016. I called this team a light in the darkness. The IOC and host countries struggle with a lot of things, many of them political, but the EOR was such a great initiative, and to not forget that athletes become victims to circumstances beyond their control. The Paris 2024 team is made up of 37 talented athletes, 13 of them are women, competing in 12 different sports. They're a team born from circumstance and opportunity. Their existence signifies hope, belonging, and inclusion. Despite the attempts of the IOC to claim that they do not want to be political, the reality is that sport is and always will be political.
Correct.
And that's why when everybody says, take the politics out of sports, you can't.
It's impossible.
So stop making that complaint.
It's impossible to do that.
You're whining for something that you can't have.
Well, I'm reading here, Afghanistan competed at the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris, its first Olympics since the return of the Taliban rule in 2021. And the self-imposed exile of many of the country's leading athletes, especially women. It also marked the nation's 16th appearance in these games since 1936. The country did not participate in 1952, 76, 84, which was part of the Soviet-led boycott because, they were overrun by the Soviets at the time, 92 and 2000 when the Taliban was banned. Afghanistan has taken part in every recent Olympics since 2004.
There you go. The existence of the EOR points to global unrest in politics as one of the complex layers why the team exists. There have been tremendous moments of joy and firsts among this team. Cindy Ngamba's road to the podium is the one that could easily be made into a film. As the first athlete of the EOR to ever medal, her success in winning a bronze medal in Paris is outstanding. Born in Cameroon, she was still learning how to speak English when she started boxing in England. Today, she trains out of the Team Great Britain gym at the English Institute of Sport in Sheffield. It's not uncommon for national sports organizations and Olympic committees to support EOR athletes. And yes, I have to correct myself. I thought that she had won gold. She had won bronze, but she's the first to win the medal. It was Imana Khalifi who won the gold. Was the boxer that people were saying she's a man. She's clearly not.
Yeah. And did you see that her opponent was happy for her?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, there was nobody in. See, here's the thing. People who are choosing to get upset about this stuff, you are not allowed to be more upset about what you assume the gender of someone is in an Olympic competition or any sporting competition than the other athletes in the actual competition.
Yeah.
Okay? So stop it. Nagamba's presence and that of her 36 teammates should be enough to make us all well up with tears. They are athletes dedicated to sport and want to win, like everyone else at the Olympics. Here in Canada, Nigara Shaheen is an Afghan judoka whose hometown is now Toronto. She was named to the EOR and is supported by the Canadian Olympic Committee. While I appreciate the concept and principles of the EOR, I can't help but find it fascinating and, dare I say, political that the chef de mission for the EOR is Masoma Alizada, a cyclist from Afghanistan who now lives in France. Alizada wears a hijab, which is banned in France for political reasons, and she would not be welcome in the sports ecosystem if she wanted to play for France. Just ahead of the Olympics, I spoke with Jennifer Cooper, Global Advisor for UN Women. Cooper told me that they worked closely with the IOC. While there are no easy answers and it's a long process, understanding the complexities are essential. Quote, I don't want to be the big cheerleader for the International Olympic Committee, she said. I'm familiar with their work, and I can say that to the extent that they have the ability. They're sort of like us in the United Nations, We can come up with wonderful policies, but then it's up to the different layers to implement those and embrace them. So it's a process. And one of the things that when we're talking about the hijab that struck my eye as well yesterday at the closing ceremony was the medal ceremony for the women's marathon. And the woman who won it, Sifan Hassan, I believe her name is competes for the Netherlands. And she didn't run the marathon in a hijab, but she stood on the podium with her hijab on to get her medal in France, where they won't let their athletes compete in hijab. Reason number 426 why I love the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And that lady, she didn't just compete in the marathon. She competed in track events as well.
Yeah,
she won 2 bronzes in the track events.
She did what, the 5,000, the 10,000, and the marathon?
Yes. So she ran 20 kilometers before she even started the marathon in these Olympics. So she ran about 63 kilometers in all.
Wow.
Picked up 3 medals.
In a very, very short time period.
Yes, really, she did. The position of the IOC is while they recognize milestones, they understand that huge gaps remain. They are aware of sexual harassment and abuse and have worked on safe reporting mechanisms in the Olympic Village. But another gap could be the issues of abusers at the Olympics. There was an absolute PR disaster for the IOC when it was discovered that Steven van de Velde is a convicted child rapist and was included on the Dutch beach volleyball team.
And he got booed every time he touched the ball, by the way.
Yep. New allegations of sexual assault against Bruce Mwape, Zambia's women's football coach, were in the headlines. Subsequently, Mwape was not permitted to stay in the athletes' village with the team. And finally, Canadian gold medalist Anthony DeGrasse's coach, Raina Ryder, had his accreditation stripped by the COC, that's Canadian Olympic Committee, over new allegations of emotional and sexual abuse. Another huge miss from the IOC towards the EOR is the fact that Afghan breaker Manhiza Talash was disqualified for displaying a homemade cape that read "Free Afghan Women" at the end of her dance battle on Saturday. Talash did not advance beyond group stages, but to disqualify her from competition because she publicly stated why she was a member of the EOR is bizarre. A statement from the World Dance Sport Federation said that Talash, quote, was disqualified for displaying a political slogan on her attire during the pre-qualifier battle. The IOC's executive board invited Talash to be part of the EOR after learning about her brave efforts to defy and resist the Taliban regime in Afghanistan, which invaded in 2021. Some Afghan women have labeled the Taliban as being complicit in gender apartheid. Not a great look when we consider the gender equality vibe that the IOC was going for at the Olympics. And that is true. That's a great note. Another note that I made, the old, alleged to be quite corrupt fogies of the IOC actually believe more in gender parity than does our Conservative Party of Canada. Let that sink in. Conservative Party of Canada doesn't even support pay equity yet.
No, they do not.
Because it's not merit-based. Allegedly.
Here's I've got a photo of compare and contrast. For the very first time, Team Egypt, their women competed in beach volleyball.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a photo of them playing against Spain.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a comment beneath this. I'm going to scroll down and read the first comment, and because I think the first comment is interesting. Both groups of women are dressed to please men. Think about it.
Yep.
let's scroll down just a little bit further to the next comment, which is interesting. No, you think about it. Us hijabis do it for our Lord, not men. It would be a major sin if we did.
Mm.
Both of those people are correct, though,
Yes.
right? Because the hijab is for the Lord. Everything else is to please men. The head to toe covering, like
Mhm.
right to the wrists and
Yep.
right to the ankles, that is to please men.
Yep.
Not their Lord. Men.
hmm And and I have seen some beach volleyball teams where the women are wearing full legging.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I've seen that.
In like countries that don't have any issue with complete G-string thong, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
exactly.
Yes.
Some have chosen that for
Some
themselves.
have chosen
I
it.
see that sometimes in figure skating too, rather than the short little skirt where every time you jump you can see their underwear. Like this, there's some female figure skatings that skate in full legging, sort of cat suits, bodysuits now as well. So listen, whatever it is you want to wear should be your choice, and it shouldn't get more complicated than that. Um, the IOC, the IOC's executive board invited Talash to be part of the EOR after learning about her brave efforts to defy and resist the Taliban regime in Afghanistan, Taliban regime in Afghanistan, which invaded in 2021. Some Afghan women have labeled the Taliban as being complicit in gender apartheid. Not a great look when we consider the gender equality vibe that the IOC was going for at the Olympics. The Taliban regime has been devastating for women in Afghanistan. Her presence at the Olympics is important because it signifies that competing for Afghanistan is not safe for all women. But the fact that Talash decided to be even more public about her protests in Paris resulted in a disqualification is absurd. These Olympics have been labeled as one of gender parity. Beyond the stats or the clickbait headline, there is context. In this context, the IOC failed women like Talash. Her sisters around the world who are victim to misogyny, systems of oppression, and toxic patriarchy will watch these Olympics and wonder why she was not further supported. Furthermore, there are survivors of sexual assault and violence around the world probably wondering why, in an age of the glorious gender parity, there was space to allow for inclusion of abusers. As much as society wants women to stand up and be strong, they aren't permitted to actually say what they want at the Olympics, lest it be too political. But the mess that the IOC has created is unacceptable and hypocritical. Either you support women in all their entities or you don't. If that's too political, then the IOC has certainly missed the mark on this one.
Mm.
Great writing, great point of view, great perspective. Like this. And yeah, yes, this is a much more serious subject. Like this, but don't let the seriousness of the subject fool you. Shireen can get down into the sports analysis
Oh, yes.
with the
Yeah.
best of them as well.
She's damn good.
This
at
is
her
just
job.
an extra layer that she brings because of her knowledge. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. So pause up to the whole crew from CBC. Scott Russell, of course, his last one. And I'm mentioning all of this to get to the thing because we got to talk about our national shit given.
Yes.
Pierre Polyev, throughout the entire Olympics, has not had one positive or kind thing to say. Now, he hasn't been spouting negativity, but he's had nothing to say. Nothing about the Olympics whatsoever.
This
in
is why.
any shape
Aaron
or
Hoyland.
form. Yeah.
The reason Pierre Polyev was weirdly quiet about the Olympics is because he's hoping people don't realize that all the amazing free coverage only exists because of the CBC, and that if he follows through on defunding it, we won't be able to watch next time without paying.
Yes, scooped my punch.
Sorry,
That's where I was going.
That. I figured, you know.
That's where I was going with it.
And he's right.
He is right. He's right. Douglas Mateo wanted me to ask you why you're talking so fast. When I'm reading articles that are already written, so I don't have to find my words as I am speaking, I tend to do it a little faster. I can zip through. That's why, Mateo. So you know.
So for the defunding the CBC people, there's a factoid you might not be aware of. The CBC receives about $1.4 billion per year in federal funding. That works out to 0.3% of the federal budget, or $23 per year per taxpayer. $23. Now, think about this. You do realize most of the money that CBC, yes, they get $1.4 billion. Yes, they do. but the rest of their budget is made up from advertising. Hockey Night in Canada, which, they might get a shot at getting Saturday night games back, because right now they don't make any money on it. It's just the feed to provide to Canadians who don't have either cable TV services or satellite TV services or a fast enough internet connection, because there are many Canadians who don't. One of the reasons we have the CBC is so that every Canadian will have access to news, information, and entertainment coast to coast to coast. And as somebody pointed out yesterday, they said, growing up, we listened to CBC radio because the remote town that we lived in, that was all we could actually pick up. The other stations, the commercial ones, the for-profit commercial stations, and by the way, CBC is a for-profit enterprise. CBC radio doesn't have any advertising. They tried it once, I think, in the early 80s, correct me if I'm wrong, and it did not go over well because people hated it. They're like, we don't want to hear advertising on CBC radio. We pay taxes to avoid that. And, as a radio station, when you start, and it's something that we have to face facts, certain people will not want to advertise you because of some of the things you say.
Yep.
We get it. We are looking for more sponsors and more ads, of course, but some people just don't want to advertise on our platform because
some don't want to advertise on any political show whatsoever.
Correct. Yeah, they just want to remain completely neutral. And I get that.
Yep.
Completely get
it's a
that.
Brand safety thing.
Yeah, and I have no issues with that. But that's why we should look at Bud Light because,
Yep.
what they've been doing,
yeah,
right?
Yep. I hear you. Yep.
And I know it's in many cases it is rainbow washing, but they, the backlash they faced for creating a six-pack for one human being, a single person, and they got people losing their minds over it.
But then they apologized for it. They didn't stand by it. So
no, I know.
Yeah.
In the end, it's the shareholders that are getting all pissed off. But yeah,
indeed. 107 minutes prior to the start of the closing ceremony, somebody decided to show up. Mr. Grizzly,
you have the
put it up, please, if you would.
Just a second. 2 incredible weeks for Team Canada at the Olympic Games. From record-breaking titles to nail-biter races, Canada's athletes carried the pride of this nation and inspired the next generation of Olympians. You have made us proud, Canada.
Okay. The biggest platitude possible. Doesn't read like his voice at all.
No.
So this is probably some
It's not
staffer
smart
who
enough.
took some initiative.
Yeah.
Says, "Oh my God, we're really getting raked over the coals for this. Let's put something out." Which again, when you point out, you look who finally showed up. It's like, oh, what did you expect for him to like pat them on the back every step of the way and congratulate every single little thing?
Yeah. I did. Every medal winner should have gotten a congratulations. Every medal winner.
Yes.
And even the ones who didn't win but came so close and showed bravery in competition and in the spirit and sport of athletics. And well, here's the thing though. I'm sure he got swishies or swirlies when he was a kid and never got picked for any team. I can ask some people who went to high school with him. Something tells me he's never played a sport of any type in his life.
Estimated audiences of 2.5 billion.
Yeah.
Watching all around the world. Your athletes are the ambassadors of your nation. The whole eyes of the world are on you. They compete valiantly. They compete well. They win a medal. Your flag gets flown. You all have teams when you're the leader of the party. Is it really that hard to have somebody scanning the sports section every morning? Or to just follow the Canada Olympic Committee, because as soon as they're a medal, they got to tweet out and then just retweet that, say, congratulations on a great performance or something like that. Wow, spectacular. It's not that hard.
No,
it doesn't take that much time. It doesn't distract that much from other priorities. And he couldn't do it once in like 14, 15, 16 days for anything. The 4x100, Summer McIntosh getting her 3rd gold. Like none of that inspired him.
Yeah.
Because Kids, when we talked about him suddenly not remembering Diagolon, right? And it said, the man that will not stand up for his family will not stand up for you.
It's true.
A man who is incapable of expressing joy
For others.
when something good happens to Canadians or happens well to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
A man that cannot express joy when Canada succeeds is not a man who can lead Canada to success.
No, he's devoid of joy. His joy is when he's miserable or complaining about Justin Trudeau. That's the only time he's happy. He's happiest when he's miserable. The thing is, he has no joy or love in his life, and I think he has mental health issues. And I'm speaking from personal experience here, he comes off as somebody who has depression because he's always angry, he's never happy, and he never expresses joy for somebody else's victory or success or moment where things are great. He never does that.
Yes.
If you pay attention, you will notice that. He never does that. So I'm going to say it. I think he has a mental health issue, and I think he has depression, and he may have a problem with alcohol.
Yes.
Which adds to depression because all the signs point to it.
Yep.
So, dude, I hate your politics. I don't know you as a human being, but I don't like how you present yourself to this world. Get some help. Get some help.
You should not be seeking to have leadership over anybody right now. You should be taking some time out for some self-care.
I sincerely mean that as one human being to another. And I do not like your politics. I don't know you as a person, but the way you present yourself, I do not like you. But get some help because you desperately need it. Desperately.
Yep. Now, he did find time for certain things, though. According to the National Post, Canada's top court nixes Jordan Peterson's appeal of professional colleges' remedial orders. Like we all said he would.
Look at this comment. I'm sorry.
Oh, please.
Yeah. Sure it is. Yeah.
Prove
it.
Yeah.
Prove it.
Yeah.
Prove it. I'm not putting it on the screen, and I'm not even going to say it out loud.
No, that's just...
Prove it. Oh, guess what? He's probably Castro's son too, right? According to you. Yeah, I'm going to make fun of you because you're spewing stupid statements.
For people who are listening on the podcast, you don't see it. We have someone in the chat who's
we're not going to
broadcasting stuff that they believe to be about Trudeau that comes from a galaxy far, far, far away.
I think the Buffalo Chronicle, which is a satirical outlet.
Let's just put it that way. But according to the National Post, as we called it on the show because it was so painfully obvious, Jordan Peterson to attend remedial coaching program after Canada's top court nixes appeal. Jordan Peterson will be attending re-education training. It's not re-education training.
No. It's sensitivity training. That's what it is.
After Canada's top court closed the door on his legal fight against an order that he enter a remedial coaching program. It was confirmed through Peterson's lawyer, Howard Levitt, in an email to the National Post on Thursday. In a statement via email, Levitt said it was, quote, ironic and even tragic. No. That Peterson, whom he called one of the most adept persons in social media in this country and beyond. Oh, yes, adept persons in social media. Not the field in which he trained, though, right? Is going to attend a program, quote, from people inherently less skilled and knowledgeable than he is himself. No. You forgot to say in that sentence, adept at what in social media? Adept at getting attention by yelling things similar to what this person on the chat here is yelling, because we said things that don't fit with their particular warped worldview, so therefore it must be propaganda and a lie. It can't possibly be. That maybe they're wrong. Because looking inward, not a strong suit there like this. And, applying your critical lens to the things you yourself believe also cannot happen. See now, and now they've gone to talking about what's between people's legs. Can we get rid of this person? So if we're talking celebrating athletes like this, and your mind goes to, hey, show me what's between your legs. You're weird.
You're very weird.
You're very weird. You need help, and you can't sit at our table. If transgender people can't sit at your table, you can't sit at ours.
Sayonara. They're blocking this person now because they're getting on that. They're getting on that bandwidth. Yes, you're not women.
They're just blocked. Yep, that's what I mean. Just right.
You're blocked.
That's pedo. Men are not like. If you are having a conversation with anybody online about a random subject, and all of a sudden, just out of the blue, they start talking about what's between people's legs,
you're blocked. You're weird.
Cut.
You're weird.
Weird. Really weird. No, liberal censorship. No, not censorship. The only people that have to protect your right to freedom of expression is the government when you're dealing with the government.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of us have a total right to determine what it is we allow in our house and not. And you are not allowed.
You're not welcome.
You came into our house and you pissed on our carpets and wiped yourself on our drapes, so we are asking you to leave. You didn't want to leave, so we're escorting you out. As is our right.
It's real simple.
Ciao, ciao.
And of course, immediately they'll go to, well, it's because you're Trudeau lovers. No,
it's because we respect our audience.
Yes.
It's not because we're Trudeau lovers. We love our audience, and our audience didn't come here for that.
Exactly.
That stuff that you're doing exists everywhere on the web, and this is the 10 billionth comment about men or not men that's been made in human history over the last 3 or 4 years. You're not original. You're not creative. You're just boring. You're just weird. If you want to do that, there's a whole internet for you to do that. Knock yourself out. Have fun. Waste your life doing that. But over here, it's the one little spot that we've created somewhere on the web where Team Normal can actually have normal discussions.
Correct.
Sorry if you didn't want to participate. You were welcome into our home. You decided you didn't like it here. It's like, we arranged the furniture the way we like. You want to rearrange it. Sorry, we're not going to let you do that. So you got to go.
Well,
you don't go into someone's home and decide to redecorate.
So this Jordan Peterson's the man that Pierre Poilievre wants to support and has come out. And you saw his most recent garbage tweet about how the government wing, the Supreme Court of Canada, is not a government.
Scooping me, man.
Sorry. Well, it's a collaborative show.
I know that, but it's frustrating.
But here, look at this tweet from Jordan Peterson on the 2nd of July of this year.
Oh, did he really use the R word again?
Yeah, he did. I'm going to read it out loud, and I'm going to skip over that word. Why does Kamala Harris VP always sound like a creepy mom talking to a room full of R-word children? Seriously, she is beyond parody. Justin Trudeau is now single. Maybe they could run off together, with Gavin Newsom visiting now and then to take the upper hand in the S&M dungeon. And this guy wonders why he has to go for sensitivity training?
Weird.
That's weird.
Why, again, why is he talking about Kamala Harris sexually? Why is he talking about children that way? And what the I mean, we're sex positive on the show, but what the fuck does an S&M dungeon have to do with anything? Seriously. People are weird.
This dude is weird. I don't follow
untethered, unbalanced, unstable, weird
timeline of my life. But
oh my God.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? Jordan, the reason why we're seeing all these tweets from Jordan Peterson, who had been relatively quiet for the last little while, is because his next grift was going to be that, right? Something about the court or something about whatnot like this. And here's the thing. The Supreme Court decided that his case had so little merit that they weren't even going to hear it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So all of a sudden, what he had planned is not what he can do. So now he needs attention. So now he's cranking it out. he's increased his output because he was going to run on the trial. That trial was going to last several months, and live tweeting the trial, coming back every night, and how he's persecuted and whatnot. And he was going to raise money off that for the next 3 or 4 months. Well, now he can't because get out of here with that bullshit. That's what the Supreme Court basically did.
Yeah.
So now he's got to, he works hard for his money, so hard for his honey. So he's working his corner now, hiking up his skirt so everybody can see his boy butts.
Well, from our friend James Christian Parsons at @dread_. This is in response to Sarah Fisher. Sarah Fisher, I'll read her tweet and then follow up with James' response. The woke radical leftists who want to censor any speech that threatens their fragile sense reality have no idea what they're in for. They think they've put Jordan Peterson in checkmate, but the game has only begun. Canada will be watching.
Oh, whoa, Canada will be watching. Oh, I'm so scared. I'm shaking away. Oh.
And James'
Sarah.
response is, I don't care what you say and think your politics are. If you're prepared to vote this kind of worldview into the PMO, you're neither moderate nor rational, and you're certainly not conservative.
Bingo. So Jordan Peterson's basically going fishing with all his tweets now. The decision is a tragedy for freedom and speech of this country, said Levitt. No, it's not. With close to a quarter of Canadians being members of regulated trades and professions, this decision will have a chilling impact on Canadian freedom of speech. No, it won't. They now have to concern themselves with political and other enemies making complaints to the regulatory bodies over their political comments with the risk of their ability to practice their trade. Most simply will avoid debate entirely. A tragic day for Canada. No, it won't. No, it won't. Because telling people to go unalive themselves online is not something normal people do.
No, not to mention
it's abnormal.
You're a regulatory body that oversees your profession. They're not going to take kindly to that.
These rules have existed for a long time. He's the first person in God knows how long that these rules have needed to be enforced on. There's no sudden mass explosion of people who wanted to say things on internet like this that weren't saying them before, who can't no longer all of a sudden because of this decision.
So I've got a funny one for you.
You wanted to be a licensed psychologist?
Your governing body
decided that there are certain standards of behavior that you must adhere to.
Standards and practices.
You have a free choice to adhere to those standards or not. If you don't adhere to the standards, you can't be a member of our club. If you do, you can. You know what the rules are. You know what the consequences are. If you choose not to obey the rules, do not be surprised when the consequences come. This is not censorship. This is you just deciding that, hey, I'm allowed to say anything I want, no matter how irresponsibly you are, like this, and still be a member of this organization. No, you're not.
No, you're not.
It's really that simple. Mr. Grizzly.
Oh, you went right out of focus there for some reason.
I did, yeah.
I don't know what happened. There we go. Now you're back.
Right.
It's troubling to me. So this past weekend I'm not going to give you all the details but let's just say we were sitting around at a place sampling some wine, and the young female servers behind the bar, young women, because they were 19, right? Because they're serving alcohol. So the young women behind the bar are fans of Jordan Peterson. And they said, oh, Sarah upstairs knows him. Yeah, her father and he are good friends. And she comes in, she goes, oh yeah, I love JP. And they're all going back and forth. And two of the party I was with were talking about how I think this is wrong. He did this. And I go, well, his governing body ruled that what he said, because I was really biting my tongue. I kept my own thoughts to myself. I said, well, his governing body said he did wrong, and the Supreme Court of Canada agreed with the governing body. It's not a free speech thing, which, by the way, isn't a thing in Canada. We have freedom of expression, and there are limitations upon that expression. And I said those exact words. I said, and he violated his governing body's code of conduct. So he's being punished for it. It's got nothing to do with, he's free to say whatever he wants, but there are consequences.
He just can't say, as a licensed psychologist, I'm telling you to unalive yourself. Now,
and expect
even if he wasn't a licensed psychologist, you can't encourage people to take their own lives. That's what are just regular for regardless of your governing body. That's right in the code. You cannot counsel people to take their own lives. That's a crime.
Well,
literally a crime.
It is literally a crime in this country to do that. And to counsel somebody to do it online is also a crime. And people
that he got away with just having to take re-education course and not a criminal charge.
He's getting off lightly. He's getting off very lightly. And one of the other individuals in the party who is like me, not a fan of Jordan Peterson, said, no, he violated the rules of his governing body and he's got to pay the price for doing so. It is not a free speech thing. It never was. He has rules and regulations he must follow as a practicing licensed psychologist. If he doesn't follow those rules, his governing body takes away his license. He wants to keep his license. He has to follow their rules. It's real simple. It's no different than anybody in any other walk of life. If I was a heart surgeon, but I didn't feel like wearing a mask in the room because I read online somewhere that somebody said they don't work, pretty sure the College of Physicians and Surgeons would come down pretty hard on me for that one. Rules and regulations you need to follow that your governing body has laid out, that was put together not by one person, but a group of people over the decades, and they massage them and try and bring them up to the modern day, because sometimes a rule that was made 50 years ago just doesn't necessarily apply today. So, you F around, you find out.
So, while on August 9th,
that's my mom's birthday, by the way. I forgot to give a well, I did talk to my mom on her birthday, but I forgot to give an online shout out on the show. So
happy belated birthday, Mama Grizzly. I hope it was a good one. So while Pierre Poilievre did not have time to congratulate Katie Vincent on her gold medal on August 9th, or to congratulate the men's 4x100 relay team on their gold medal on August 9th, or congratulate Marco Arap on his stellar silver medal with a national record and personal best on August 9th, he did have time for Mr. Grizzly.
What do you have something on the screen you want me to put on?
I do. Oh, sorry.
You got to give me
I got too excited. I forgot to pousser le bouton.
So it's not
to make it available too. Let's try that again. Mr. Grizzly.
Another government bureaucracy threatens to ban a Canadian from practicing his profession because he expressed political opinions the state doesn't like. Now they force him to undergo a political, in quotation marks, re-education. Bring home free speech for Jordan Peterson and everyone else.
Okay. Number one, another government bureaucracy to which he is referring here is the freaking Supreme Court of Canada.
Yeah. An independent body that the government of Canada has zero control over.
And if he's not speaking about the Supreme Court of Canada, then he's speaking about the Ontario College
is it the physician?
Psychologists, maybe?
They may have a separate body from the College of Physicians and Surgeons. Yes, I believe they do.
Yeah. Which is a professional organization made by its members. It's not actually government bureaucracy.
Yeah. Code of conduct.
Whatsoever. Threatens to ban a Canadian from practicing his profession that he hasn't been practicing for years anyway, because he decided grifting off the internet was more profitable. Because he expressed political opinions the state doesn't like. No, it has nothing to do with the state not liking his political opinions. He expressed political opinions and made comments in his capacity as a regulated psychologist that go against the code of conduct that he agreed to uphold when he obtained his license. Some of the things of which he said are criminal. That's why Has nothing to do with the state liking. It has nothing to do with people liking or not liking what you said. It has to do with the fact that we all agree that this is shit we weren't going to do. And now you're doing it and you're making all of us look bad. So we need to rein you in. That's what happened. Now they force him to undergo a political re-education. No, he's not being forced to undergo political re-education. He doesn't have to take the sensitivity training. He just can't keep his license. He can still keep on grifting and being a rank asshole on Twitter. Nothing that stops him from doing that. Nothing stops him from doing that. So he's not being forced. He's given the choice. If you want to maintain your license, you will take this course. And then you will show that you've learned from it and you will abide by the things that you've learned. Or if you don't want to maintain your license, you will not take this course. But again, you have a choice.
You have a choice.
It's not being forced into anything.
Nope.
Bring home free speech. As Mr. Grizzly says, we do not have free speech. We have freedom of expression. For Jordan Peterson and everyone else, we don't need to bring it back because it never left. You can't bring back what never left. We have the exact same freedom of expression rights today as we did before August 9th. The Supreme Court changed nothing.
Nothing.
Pierre found time to champion Peterson, but not to champion our athletes. Priorities and choices, kids. He's telling you who he is. Now, all this roundabout Olympic stuff is really to just get to the good part, because we have about 17 days off, to hydrate and rest and eat and stretch. And then we get ready for the Act 2, the Paralympics.
Yes, that's correct. And our good friend Devin will be there to cover it all.
Yes, because he's one of the only ones who stays and does the double duty.
Correct.
My man.
Well, I just reached out to him and sent it because he's off for a break and he's visiting. Well, he has a bit of a break. He's visiting past Olympic hosting cities, so he's on his way to London right now. So I just sent him a message, said, hey, how about a from the road commentary and soliloquy about the Olympics? So hopefully I'll hear back from him.
That would be great. So Wednesday, August 28th till Sunday, September 8th, 2024, the Paralympic Games will be happening in Paris. Yes, Kitland I am. I can't wait for goal ball. Me too. Me too. Oh, God. It's just that team is so great. Super Kyle has re-entered the chat. There you are, my friend. There you are. Listen, the thing with Paralympics, sometimes they're more difficult for people to watch because you have people in various classes competing at the same time, like in swimming. So you don't necessarily know from watching who won what. Doesn't matter. The sportscasters will tell you that stuff.
That's right.
Just watch the sports like this. Eventually you'll pick up on it. But there's archery, athletics, badminton, football, equestrian. There's para-equestrian.
I didn't know that.
Cycling, canoe, boccia, goalball, judo, powerlifting, rowing, table tennis, swimming, volleyball, shooting, taekwondo, triathlon, basketball, and remember, as Devin said, raising some funds for the Canadian wheelchair basketball teams by selling those snazzy T-shirts. Hopefully I'll be able to get a link to you during the show, but if not, in the episode descriptions in the show notes, the Democracy Something You Could Do section, we have a link there for you to go and buy them. So look for those. Fencing, rugby, and tennis. Thank you very much. So there is something, and I've watched wheelchair tennis.
It's badass.
It's pretty badass, actually. So I love it just as much. No difference. Like this for me, it should be on TV. Like, you know what I'd really love to see? Sometimes I was thinking about it the other day. I'd like to see, because we're talking about mixed events, men,
Right.
women. I would like to see some mixed events, para athletes and Olympic athletes.
Mhm.
Like, why couldn't there be a 4x100 medley relay that has 2 para athletes and 2 Olympic athletes?
Why not? Why not? Look,
Why not?
we're going to overlook the most recent legal problems that this individual had, but in
Yes.
Rio,
Oscar
Oscar
Pistorius.
Pistorius was the first Paralympian to run in the Olympic Games.
And Benoit Huet and Aurélie Rivard, their times were good enough
Yes.
that they competed
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that
at
could
the
just,
Olympic Games as well. It's like they're not just restricted. I guess if you make the time, again, if you can play, you can play, right?
Yeah.
I need a Kyle. I need a shirt that says "I'm just here for the murder ball game."
Yeah, I would not play murder ball. Nope.
No.
Same with sledge hockey. You guys are crazy, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and Brian McKeever as well, cross country ski Canadian. Like this, he competed.
Yes.
I think as well at the Olympics and not just the Paralympics. So yeah, I would. I'd love to see those because I get a big thrill. Because I remember one of the swim races. I think they had normally they swim in a certain order, but this team, the female swimmer was their strongest anchor. So you saw at the end, you saw like she had everybody had gotten her the lead she had there, and she was like swimming like this, and you see all the men jump in like this for the last leg, and then you see the like, it was super cool. It was super cool. So I would love to see mixed events there as well. Why not? Well, why keep things in like I understand having a moment, the Paralympics, that puts the focus specifically on parasport. It's for the visibility at all costs. It matters. It really does matter. But I'd like to see some of the big stuff too. That would be fun.
Oh,
I
yes.
think. And I think the athletes would love it too.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. It was great. But yes, all these sports, we have a wonderful team getting ready to go. Again, wonderful medal hopes. We just, our basketball teams are great. We have like one of the GOAT in wheelchair basketball, as Devin told us in our interview, that who will be competing. You want a chance to check out this guy in competition for sure. Our swimmers, I am confident, are going to bring it again. Our bocce team is pretty solid. Our goalball team is solid. Well, hey, they beat the Americans at the Pan Ams to qualify. So, like this, who knows? Maybe our fencers will be inspired.
Good. Yeah.
You just never know what's going to happen. So, again, the absolute best in human achievement is going to happen again. So there's no reason not to watch. I'm not sure if it's probably not going to get as much TV coverage, but there is a Paralympics website specifically as well where you'll be able to on YouTube page where you'll be able to watch that as well. And we'll have more details for you as they come, as we get ready and gear up for them. We are not going to cover them, and we're not going to talk about them any less. Equal billing. Equal billing, as Devin said. Especially now that the compensation is equal, an Olympic medal is worth the same as a Paralympic medal. It is sport. Period.
I know there have been people that have disagreed with our statement on that, but it's like, no, it's an achievement. Period. It's athleticism.
It's same rules once every 4 years. One moment. Can you deliver in the clutch? No different. Sports are adapted. Yes. Absolutely. The athletes perform differently. But it is the same. The variables may change, but the constants are the same.
Correct.
That's all there is to it. If you like sport, there's no reason you should like Paralympic sport less. There's just no reason. It's just as thrilling. It's just as entertaining.
Agreed.
And sometimes even more, because sometimes you get some, like, it's like when we're watching sledge hockey, right? It's different enough from regular hockey
Mm-hmm.
that it's a sport unto itself. And plus, it's a sport that's accessible to all, because all you have to do is get in the sled. You don't have to. Wheelchair basketball, you don't have to be a para-athlete to play wheelchair basketball. Right?
This comment from Kyle is, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have access to the internet, like a lot of people on ODSP do not, you can watch it online. I mean, I watched all of the Olympic coverage on CBC Gem. Every single, the beauty of CBC Gem, which is free, but you have to have a good connection, and you have to have an internet connection, and sadly, not everybody does. And having the internet in your home should be, and I know people go, oh, that's being silly. I'm like, no, it should be a basic human right, because it's your method of communication with the outside world.
Yep.
It should be a basic human right, period.
Yep. But that's a interesting little irony, right? Everybody, let's get together and watch the Paralympics. Oh, yeah. We don't actually give you enough money for the web.
Yeah, to watch it. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Zing. Tough, but fair.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, that's what I'm saying. You got to look inward. Because we're patting ourselves on the back. It's like the equal funding for the athletes. And it's like, but yeah, not equal broadcast time yet, and not equal visibility yet. And the people who are the most interested by the events are some of the people the least able to afford it, to actually watch it, even from the comfort of their own home.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, Kitlin Dam. How many bars will be showing the Paralympics?
Not nearly enough.
Yep. If I had a sports bar, it would be on.
Yeah, I'd put it on. Why the hell?
That's for sure. Why not? Be sitting and looking at, yeah, hold on.
I'm sorry, I'm watching Team Canada compete.
You'll get your beer in a second. Thank you.
I'm watching Team Canada compete right now.
Yep.
Yeah, I know there's a Jays game on over there, but I'd rather watch this person who sacrificed more than we'll ever know to get to that level, to compete and represent us on the world stage. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of news, since we're talking about Paralympics, because yes, we have our friend Kyle with us, and we have a good viewership from the disability community, and we're very grateful for it.
Differently
but
abled community. Sorry, differently abled community.
Oh,
not disabled, differently abled.
Okay, I heard some people didn't really like that anymore.
Somebody tell me what the right word to say is. I'll happily say it. I just don't want to upset or harm anybody is all. That's basically what it boils down to with me.
Yeah.
I say differently abled because that's what it is. Differently abled.
Right.
And as Kyle taught me, thank you, you're a wheelchair user. You're not wheelchair bound because the chair is not part of you. You use the chair. It's a mobility device, just like these are a mobility device. I cannot drive a car without these. Walking around downtown without these, and I do it every now and then because I'll take them off and I'll be in my house on my phone and I'll go out the door and I'll lock the door and I'll go to get in the elevator and I look up and I see other people in the elevator. I'm going, oh shit, I forgot my glasses. Okay. And I have to go in and get my glasses because I can't see a damn thing.
If there are members from the community, I see Kit PNC Bio Going Disabled is good. If anybody has any more comments for us on that, because we want to be respectful.
That.
But the account that we've been mentioning about that uncovered the bot farm thing is a member of the community. And says, I was really hoping for a headline that would recognize me as Canada's disability superhero. Well, we're doing it, sir.
Thank you.
Can, thanks to Canada's, as he wants to be called, disability superhero. So we have Kit Kyle here says disabled literally means broken, blue screen of death anyone. So see, even among the kits, there's so
Yeah.
just know that whatever term we are using, we are not intending to be disrespectful
Or
in any
harmful
way,
in any
shape,
way.
or form.
No.
But he brought news of the bot farm, and there has been some development because I've been saying, like this, I don't know, maybe CISA should be looking into this to see if there's anything foreign. Maybe Elections Canada should be looking into this to see if there's anything. Maybe all you legislators who are complaining about, oh my God, I can't believe Pierre did this. Maybe you should be proposing some legislation.
Mhm.
Don't berate, legislate. Maybe the ethics commissioner should be looking into something. Well, this is published August 9th, updated on the 11th. NDP MP Charlie Angus has asked the Commissioner of Canada Elections to probe a number of posts on social media, worried they may constitute foreign interference. Angus claims there were hundreds of posts on social media following the rally from all corners of the world. Each of them shared the same message, claiming they were still buzzing from the energy in the room. Quote, just got back from Pierre Poilievre's rally in Kirkland Lake and I'm still buzzing from the energy, wrote a user with the name Alexis, whose account is purportedly from Waikato District, New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand's they usually fly in for the rallies in Kirkland Lake, eh?
Yeah. Are we going to allow offshore bots and mysterious third-party operatives to try and influence Canadian points of view and in the lead up to an election, Angus said in an interview with CTV News, or are we going to have integrity in the system? A spokesperson for the Commissioner of Canada Elections confirms the organization has received the complaint from Angus, citing confidentiality provisions of the Canada Elections Act. Myriam Crousset said the commissioner can't disclose any details in relation to the issue outlined in the letter. Quote, that said, as we do with any complaint sent to the commissioner, all allegations are taken seriously and evaluated on a case-by-case basis. A number of Liberal MPs from ridings in Northern Ontario have written to ex-owner Elon Musk asking him to crack down on bot activity on the platform. Vivienne Lapointe, MP for Sudbury, Marc Serret, MP for Nickel Belt, and Marcus Pawlowski, MP for Thunder Bay Rainy River, point out the posts were, quote, a blatant online manipulation whose purpose was to, quote, interfere in Canada's public discourse and democratic processes. Quote, as you can imagine, though, many questions remain about the actors involved in this coordinated campaign that intended to distort perceptions, mislead the public, and inflate support for one political party, in this case the Conservative Party of Canada, wrote the MPs. Asked if his party uses bot farms to create hundreds of social media posts, the Conservative leader responded with a blunt no, calling the story false allegations from the Liberals, quote, to distract from the hunger and homelessness and the economic misery they've caused for 9 years.
Really?
Uh-huh. Yeah. No. No. And trust me, if they really needed to distract from that, they'd probably try something a little more ambitious than Pierre's got bot farms. Just saying. Director of Communications for the Conservative Party of Canada, Sarah Fisher, called, or Fraulein Honkstetter, called the NDP's accusations, quote, baseless conspiracy theories. A little investigation would lead you to discover that the same type of bot accounts promote the Prime Minister, said Fisher in an email to CTV News. Oh, okay, so there's similar bots that that promote the Prime Minister, so therefore it makes it okay. No, and first of all, you would also have to draw a link between the party and those bots.
Yes.
Right? And whereas we already know you cheat, because your leader's got a deferred prosecution agreement and your party's already pleaded guilty in court. So, you kind of got a history of that going on.
We know.
So, we're not talking apples, and we're not comparing apples to apples. I'm sorry, Sarah. That's just the way the apple crumbles. A little, the response drew a challenge. The response to a challenge from Angus, quote, I challenge Pierre Poilievre, if you're saying that this is just some crazy conspiracy theory, then agree to work with Elections Canada, open your books, show us that you had nothing to do with it, said Angus. Accusations of using bot farms or botnets come as a public inquiry into foreign interference in Canada's democracy continues. Talk about, Marie-Josée Hogg and leading the commission and all that kind of stuff. In response to the Commission's first report, the Minister of Public Safety, Democratic Institutions, and Intergovernmental Affairs, Dominique LeBlanc, said in a statement, quote, democracies around the world are grappling with the threat of foreign interference, adding the government has robust safeguards in place to protect our democracy. Quote, I think we have to be very circumspect, unfortunately, about what we see online, said Federal Health Minister Mark Holland when asked about the alleged bot posts. Quote, there are forces that are running these bots and trying to overwhelm the internet to give an appearance of a particular opinion or a consensus around something that simply isn't true. And at worst, it's seeking to undermine our democracy. Cybersecurity experts point out botnets have been a pervasive issue for decades, but have gone unnoticed or undetected because they are complex problems that are often hidden. Andrew Loshman worked at the Communications Security Establishment in Privy Council office for more than 12 years. As part of Canada's cyber spy agency, he has seen the evolution of the threat. Quote, you can use botnets for many other purposes, including social influence and changing social media perspectives, as we've seen over the last decade, really including the US elections. The term bot farm or botnets refers to a collection of thousands or sometimes hundreds of thousands of computers ranging from a desktop computer to low-T devices. These, and low-T in this case does not mean low testosterone.
No, I know. I know, but it's good you do have to reference that.
Yes. These hardware devices have an internet connection which connects and exchanges data with other devices like a smart thermostat or fitness tracking watch. Loshman explains a cyber threat actor like a foreign government will hack into those devices if they aren't secured and use them for their own advantage. Quote, there might be many businesses in Canada, and certainly there are globally, that might unwittingly be part of a botnet today. Botnets can be used to help create fake personas online to counter social media platform security systems, which can quickly identify fraudulent accounts. When there are thousands of accounts across the world working in a coordinated way, creating new X accounts, they can achieve their objective. In the case of the political posts, thousands of similar opinions being shared across hundreds of accounts can create a sense of false momentum for one party over others. Quote, your opinion can be influenced, but certainly your perception of what might be true and false is also increasingly blurry and difficult to decide. I believe it's a real problem, said Loshman. While governments have made progress in increasing cybersecurity for Canadians, a number of experts believe more can be done to counter the growing threat of bot farms through standards. Quote, it's a bit like fire codes, said Loshman. We figured out how to stop fires from burning down entire cities through better building supplies, better building practices, and through monitoring and public services like the fire department. Loshman believes the government should introduce legislation and regulations that would support organizations to implement best practices and make technological advancements. If that doesn't happen as Canada approaches the next election, Loshman worries that disinformation could spread more quickly during the federal campaign. Quote, people will start to believe something that hasn't actually occurred, and so you'll have an opinion in the population that is erroneous or could cause people to make voting decisions or other important decisions in their life in a completely wrong fashion. And that is something that we cannot have. So, there you go. But yes, it looks like it is being looked into, which will be a good thing. Another thing being looked into, because we kind of wondered what happened to it, but we got a little news just as the weekend came, is according to QPbriefing.com, RCMP begins interviews in the Greenbelt investigation.
Interesting.
Yes, indeed. The RCMP has started interviewing staff who currently work or have worked in the office of Premier Doug Ford as part of its investigation into the Greenbelt land swaps, the government says. As first reported by the Toronto Star, Ford's office confirmed the interviews began on Friday. Quote, we've always said we would cooperate. That cooperation would include the Premier and current or former staff conducting interviews as witnesses, which are currently underway. Any further questions should be directed to the RCMP, said a Ford spokesperson. Here's the thing. Premiers who are most definitely, absolutely, and most assuredly not corrupt never need to say the words, my office is cooperating fully with the police investigation.
Yeah, that's not yeah.
Huh? Maybe, perhaps, I don't know. But yes, it seems that yeah, things have gotten started. Questions are being asked. Now, of course, this is the standard line that would be given in this type of situation. That oh yes, we are completely cooperating and everything is good. Because I mean, why would you say anything else? It just creates other public relations disasters. So that again falls into the category of, yeah, you say that, but I will believe that when it lasts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So let's see just how much they do cooperate. Because given how hard he's worked to not show us what are in those mandate letters twice now, he's done that. I'm having a little hard time believing oh yes, we're going to be completely transparent now that the police are actually like knocking on our door.
Yeah, no, I don't believe that.
I don't. Yeah. Pictures or it didn't happen. Meanwhile, also, this is a story that really disturbed me. It's in the Trillium. If you're in Ontario, you should be following the Trillium. Really good reporting. An increasing number of Ontario parents are surrendering their children to the province, not because they've abused or neglected them, but because they cannot find the services and support they need to keep them safe at home. Asked about that at a press conference last week, Premier Doug Ford acknowledged the problem and announced his government is launching an audit of the child welfare system. Quote, "It's very unfortunate that that's happening, but we're pouring money into that. We're going to do a complete audit of the entire system because I feel we have some issues here." Ford indicated it was a high priority for the government, saying, "I probably get 10 to 15 calls a day on it." Okay, we're talking about parents who love their children, who are going up to the Children's Aid Societies and saying, "Take my kids, please." Because they have needs and I can't fulfill them and I can't find the resources. And Doug Ford's statement is, it's very unfortunate that that's happening. No, it's not very unfortunate. That should be a what?
Yeah.
This is oh no, we can't. Hell no, we ain't having that. Especially if you're getting 10 to 15 calls a day on it. The Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services provided no further details about the audit, saying only that it is in the early stages of planning a review of the child welfare system. The Premier's office, that doesn't sound like a specific review on people who can't, for example, who may have autistic children who can't find the services. So therefore they're handing their children away. That sounds a little broader. An overall review. A Premier's office staffer said the audit would investigate why most children's aid societies in Ontario are running deficits right now, because you're not funding them. The timing is striking. 4 years ago, the province began a redesign of the same system that it is now auditing and reviewing, and that redesign is still in progress. Child welfare directors, workers, and other experts who've spoken with the Trillium described a shift that's taken place since COVID-19 struck. The number of overall cases has gone down, but the severity of the needs of the children in care has skyrocketed in many parts of the province. Earlier this year, the Children's Aid Society of Ottawa took the unusual step of issuing a joint union management press release. Okay, joint union management press release. Those are rare. Because usually their interests are opposite. Warning that the child welfare sector is, quote, at a tipping point where it can no longer provide the necessary care for our most vulnerable youth. Quote, some parents overwhelmed and unable to care for their children at home due to a lack of community treatment supports are voluntarily surrendering their children to CASO for placement in the hopes that they will receive the necessary care, it said. But CASO said agencies are having the same trouble as desperate parents in accessing the services the children need. Quote, we're not a treatment facility. We're a corporate parent with the same limited access to treatment options as any other parent, said Executive Director Kelly Raymond at the time. And that is true. It's not clear how prevalent the issue is, and it varies across the province. One child welfare worker canvassed her colleagues and estimated that 40% of the kids in care today are there because of complex special needs rather than abuse or neglect. Or simply just being in a bad situation, which was my case, the child of a single parent, and my mom had schizophrenia. And when she had a psychotic break, she had to go to the hospital. And when she had to go for a very long time before she could get back on her feet. And
Right.
you don't leave a 6-year-old kid alone at home.
That's not a good idea. I'm just going to go out on a limb there and say, unsupervised 6-year-old, probably not good to leave alone.
Especially if he's got no means to generate revenue to pay rent.
That was the sarcastic voice, okay? Just so somebody doesn't think I was actually serious there. That was sarcasm.
Yeah. Quote, but it's sad and it speaks to what kind of a province we're living in when a family can't access services. And they have to relinquish the rights of a child to get services, said Aubrey Gonsalves, president of the QP Local for the Children's Aid Society of Toronto. Jess Uddenberg, executive director at Highland Shores Children's Aid Society in Belleville, told the Trillium the issue has become rampant and has increased in recent years. Some health and community social service providers have shut down, and at the same time, some children's needs that weren't met through the pandemic have now worsened. Quote, the youth who didn't get support 4 years ago are now teenagers, and it's not as though they just outgrew the challenges that they were having. Uddenberg said there's an important distinction between a child who's in need of protection because of abuse or neglect and one whose family can't cope because their child is stuck on endless wait lists for the services they need. Quote, although the child's not really in need of protection because the parents are not a risk to their child, they're capable of providing for the child's basic needs, but the behaviors or the complexities have gotten so much that they can no longer manage that, he said. Then they come to us because we would be the band-aided agency to support them at the end of the day. When that happens, the agencies often struggle to find an appropriate place for the child to stay, let alone the developmental behavior and mental health services they need. Uddenberg offered an example of a child who was rejected for over 40 placements, including at group homes that are trained and outfitted, and have programs to support youth with these types of challenges, because the child's history and needs were too complex. Quote, they have a right to say no. A lot of these are private businesses and for-profit businesses, and when they look at the risk profile, and it may have things like they're prone to assaulting others or arson or self-harm, they'll say, you know what, the risk is simply too high to have this youth in our care, and they don't want to take on that level of responsibility and accountability. Per the legislation, we're still responsible for this child, and so we're placing this child in a hotel with a 2-to-1 supervision ratio with my staff. Oh my God. He said that can cost over $1 million a year per child, a huge impact on the agency's finances, or you could just finance the damn programs. $1 million per child to house them in hotels with a 2-to-1 staff to child ratio. Or you could fund.
Or just fund it.
The programs that the parents do.
Yeah, but okay, so this process, though, if you fund the programs, Dougie's rich developer friends who own the hotels don't get any money. So at the public purse, once again.
Jeez. But I don't want to just make it about the dollars, because if we're not putting them in appropriate places, we're not moving them forward, he added. They're surviving, but they're not thriving. In May, QP held a press conference at Queen's Park to warn that children were at risk from the increasing number of unlicensed placements being used, including in hotels, Airbnbs, trailers, and the agency's offices. It said about 65% of these agencies are in deficit because of the high cost of placing high-risk youth in these settings. In June, the province's Financial Accountability Office broke down the overall funding for child protection, finding it had flatlined since the pandemic at $1.8 billion. Of that, $1.4 billion funded an estimated 14,230 ongoing protection cases, which include 11,632 children and youth in the care of a society, and $200 million was spent on investigations into abuse and neglect. The number of completed child protection investigations cratered during the pandemic and hasn't recovered, the FAO found. That's concerning to Uddenberg, who said it doesn't mean the base level of need for child protection from abuse and neglect has disappeared. He believes that fewer community programs during and after the pandemic, and in particular the temporary closure of schools during COVID-19, means there have been fewer eyes on the children who need help and therefore fewer referrals to children's aid societies. Michelle Thorne, the president of the Ontario Public Service Employees Union Local that represents the workers at the Children's Aid Society of Ottawa, said she believes the lower number of ongoing child protection cases is also because societies like hers have worked on prevention measures that can keep children safe with their families without ongoing children's aid involvement. The funding model is broken, she explained, because it does not fund prevention and it is based on the volume of ongoing cases. After her local management issued the public warning that it was, quote, at the tipping point, the government took no action and the union went on strike. The agreement they reached will see 38 staff laid off, worsening their already overloaded workloads, she said. They went on strike, and they came to an agreement to lay off 38 staff when they already don't have enough. She added that layoffs at the CAS aren't like those at auto factories, which can decrease production. We don't have the luxury of stopping the production line. The files keep coming, she said.
Wow.
They're running government like a business.
Not a
child
good
protection and foster care is not a business.
Not good to do. Bad. Very bad.
Gonsalves,
Bad, not good.
Yeah. Gonsalves, the leader of the Toronto CAS Union Local, pointed to a shift that began in child welfare over a decade ago as the cause of some of today's problems. To save costs, agencies closed their own group homes and turned to privately run homes. Now those homes are charging exorbitant rates for higher needs children or refusing to accept them altogether. So they used to be government homes, and they said, let's save some money, let's make them private homes. And then the private home said, oh, well, wait a minute. Oh, you have these people who need services. Well, that's not good for our profit line. So, no. Which is the same thing as, for example, the CBC. Oh, you want to provide local news in the city. Well, there's not enough people. That's not good for our bottom line. So, no.
Not going to happen.
These are not businesses. These are services.
Correct. You do not run them like a business.
They are not going to be profitable, but they are necessary because, in the case of the CBC, it's literally one of the things that provide a connective tissue for the country that makes us all one country. That you can be in Yellowknife and find out what's going on in Halifax, that you can be in Corner Brook and find out what's going on in Brandon, that you can be in Prince George and find out what's going on in Windsor. And this, the same thing. If we say that a government's number one job is to protect its citizens, and you're leaving the most vulnerable of children fall through the cracks because, sorry, it's just not profitable for us to take care of you.
Yeah.
So what? You just let them die?
Well,
you just let them find their way out on the street?
He doesn't care, obviously, by evidence. This is how he treated our seniors during how he treated Ontario's seniors during COVID, Yep.
We are pleased the Premier has acknowledged his failure to protect the vulnerable children under his government's responsibility, said Laurie Pepin, a frontline worker and president of the QP local for Simcoe Muskoka CAS, in an email. But an audit? What a heartless response to this crisis. Our child welfare services need immediate, significant, and sustained funding now, she wrote. Our most vulnerable children are not line items on a spreadsheet or quota to be met. Stop playing politics with Ottawa and save these children's lives. Erwin Ellman, who was the province's child advocate until the Ford government closed that standalone office. Yes, one of the first things they did was actually get rid of the child and youth advocate. As a standalone office, they integrated it into some other person's office so it wouldn't have, kids in care, wouldn't have a moment that was just theirs or an advocate that was just
yeah, I hear you.
I'm kids, Cubs. I will tell you right now, I am not objective on this one, having been a former kid in care. So you might have to take what I have to say with a grain of salt on this one, but yes, I am biased on this one.
Well, you've been through the system. I haven't, so I don't have a personal experience.
My God. Erwin Ellman, who was the province's child advocate until the Ford government closed that standalone office, said he believes it's a sign the government has blinked in the face of an increasing crisis in the sector and media reports on tragedies that have occurred, including the death of a 16-year-old girl who was refused a foster placement. Her case was investigated by the Ontario Ombudsman and detailed in a report released earlier this year. Why didn't I not hear of this before now?
I don't know.
You would think a 16-year-old girl who was refused a foster placement and then died would have been front page news.
Yeah. Should be.
God. The premier is blinking, and that's good, he said, but his solution always about money is no solution at all for the children and families. It's not about money at this point, it's about our systems being in free fall. Uddenberg, who has also been in contact with the ministry about its redesign, said he doesn't believe the government has a good handle on the situation, but added that its high level concepts that modernization and better collaboration between service providers are necessary are correct. He and frontline workers who spoke with the Trillium said the province needs to break down the barriers between ministries so that a plan and funding for it can follow children through all of their interactions with government funded services, no matter what ministry they're delivered by. They said that part of the solution is outside of the domain of children's aid societies, strengthening the preventative services in communities where they're lacking to stop mental health, behavioral, and developmental challenges from worsening so families do not have to surrender custody of high needs children. Quote, there are a lot of reactive dollars that have to be paid to support this group of kids that take away from the proactive dollars that could have been put in place to help them further up the river. As we keep on saying, it always is cheaper to do the right thing the first time.
Yep.
When that fails, though, the province needs more treatment beds in areas around the province for high needs children who end up in the Children's Aid Society care, he said. Quote, we have enough kids in these types of situations now with enough complex needs without the proper treatment placements. The math tells you that something bad is going to happen, he said. It's going to be damaging to kids and families and their perspective of us when really they should be leaning into us as a support to them because we're actually there to try and help out. We're just not there to swing the hammer. Minister Michael Parsa, the fourth minister for children under Ford government. Fourth.
Yeah.
Musical chairs, was not available to comment on this story and has declined the Trillium's interview requests on child welfare. Why? If you don't got time for this, what do you have time for? In a statement, the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services listed budget line items for child services and addiction and mental health supports. Quote, although the government does not direct children's aid societies on placement decisions, we require them to ensure placements are safe, appropriate, and meet the child's needs, it said. That's not an option. It's the law. Then fund them appropriately to be able to meet that which the law requires.
Well,
and not only fund them appropriately, actually create the services that they need to access and fund those.
Should be a no-namer, a no-brainer, I should say. Should be a no-brainer.
This is like, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Kids.
Yeah.
Kids.
They don't care.
Kids. Oh, man. Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show? I think I'm going to stop on that one.
Yeah, let's just, I have one thing I want to share with you here. Let me just pull it up.
Please.
I've been looking at this earlier, and this is no surprise to me, and I don't think it'll come as a surprise to you, but we'll wrap up the show with this, because we've been on the Doug Ford thing a few minutes here. Let's take another look at the one here. Experts told Ontario to start small, slowly in alcohol expansion plan. They were ignored.
Oh, yeah.
Ready-to-drink cocktails, large beer packs coming to Ontario grocery stores soon. The Ford government says ready-to-drink beverages, such as coolers and seltzers and large packs of beer, will wine, premixed drinks, and convenience to grocery stores will finally delivering a years-old promise. As the policy took shape, officials reached out to stakeholders and experts to get their specialist advice on the finer points of the plan around April 2023. The government sat down with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, Arrive Alive, and the Center for Addictions and Mental Health. A summary of the advice the Ford government received from these groups, obtained by Global News using Freedom of Information laws, shows the advocacy groups and experts cautioned the province against moving too quickly, warning that making alcohol more available would come with risks. Just over half a year later, the government announced it would allow convenience stores across Ontario to sell alcohol by 2026. Months after that, in May 2024, Ford supercharged that timeline, paying the beer store $225 million to liberalize alcohol sales beginning in 2024. They've all told the governments to go slowly, and none of the recommendations were listened to, Ontario's NDP health critic Franz Gélinas said after reviewing a copy of the document obtained by Global News. I'll continue. Not only has everybody told the government go slow because there is harm that comes with the availability of alcohol and consumption of alcohol, they've completely disregarded that and are going fast. And at the same time, they have not increased the resources for the people who will reach out for help. That's no surprise whatsoever because that will cost money. It's not profitable. A spokesperson for the Ministry of Finance, which is leading the alcohol sales expansion, said the government's responsible and balanced approach treats consumers like adults by giving them more choice and convenience. The summary of stakeholder feedback obtained by Global News included detailed notes on meetings with MAD, Arrive Alive, and the Canadian Association of Mental Health. During an April meeting with MAD, the advocacy group said it was broadly in favor of allowing the sale of alcohol in grocery stores, something it viewed as a success. The key for further rollouts, according to the document obtained by Global News, would be starting small and going slowly. Almost identical advice was given to the government by Arrive Alive, which said it was generally opposed to the policy, but understood it was an inevitability to an extent that the government would push ahead. Arrive Alive cautions against going too quickly with implementation. Alcohol is widely accessible already, the government's note from the meeting explained. Ensure gradual rollout, particularly to convenience stores, to address concerns with expansion of alcohol sales, the group also advised. Despite the explicit advice from experts to be slow and cautious in the rollout of alcohol to convenience stores, the government sped up its timeline. Beginning on September 5th, 2024, thousands of new licenses to sell alcohol in Ontario will be active, predominantly for independent convenience stores and chains like Circle K and 7-Eleven. JP Hornick, president of OPSU, which represents LCBO workers, said the government has been blatantly ignoring what it was told. The government has demonstrated the same set of behavior that they do in the face of all expert testimony, which is to disregard it in favor of an agenda that they have already planned, Hornick told Global News. Anne Leonard, president of Arrive Alive, told Global News she hoped the government would be careful in its rollout and ensure it carefully monitored the changes it was bringing in to avoid major issues. I think it's a little rush, she said. We'd encourage them to slow down, especially make sure you see what's going on before you proceed any further. One of the things we've talked about was training for whoever's going to be selling the product. You have to understand with the Ford government and conservative governments in general in this country is that, and let's look at the federal conservatives. They are not progressive. They are reformers. The Ontario conservatives are called progressive conservatives, and there are some progressive aspects to the party. Okay? There are. I'm not going to deny that because Doug has kept a hands-off approach when it comes to reproductive rights, a woman's choice to make a health decision about her body, and for the rainbow community. He's pretty much just live and let live when it comes to that. So there is progressive in the party. Doug, I don't think, is very progressive, to be honest, but there is progressive within the party. That isn't up for debate. But when it comes to things like this, it's like, no, we see profit and we're going to go forward no matter what. People will get hurt. We don't care. We're going to make money. But you're not doing anything to provide supports for the people who will be harmed by this. It doesn't matter. That's not profitable. This is.
Yep.
It's just.
Yep. And Kit Tabby G just said where I was going. Now we talk about Doug Ford doing the things over which he can have control because he has no solutions for the things like health and education and foster children. Mm-hmm. Well, if alcohol wasn't enough, according to the CBC, regulated online gambling is turning out to be a hit in Ontario as it's earned the provinces hundreds of millions of dollars. So now Ontario wants to let online gamblers bet with players outside Canada. But the top court has to rule whether Doug's Ford plan would be legal. Mike Crawley, who's a good Queen's Park reporter, tells us lottery and gaming agencies in 7 other provinces don't want the plan to see the light of day. So the province earned about $800 million last year off regulated online gambling and wants to expand. Mm-hmm. Government wants to allow Ontarians to play poker and bet in daily fantasy sports pools with gamblers in other countries. Paul Burns, who's the president and CEO of the Canadian Gaming Association, which represents the industry, says that the important part is that they're trying to give more options to consumers and a better product offering. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure that we were doing just fine without sports gambling.
I thought so.
Just saying.
Well, and if you're watching a game, which tends to be on broadcast television in many cases, you are inundated with ads for Bet River, PointsBet, blah, 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 all these betting things, which some of them are major sponsors of the National Hockey League.
Mhm.
So you have to wear that logo on your helmet while it's all over the screens. And there was the member of the Ottawa Senators who got tagged for betting on hockey, even though he wasn't playing. But wait a minute, isn't that one of your sponsors? Like, the level of hypocrisy is, you know.
So the government of Ontario is asking the province's top court, sorry, not the Supreme Court of Canada, but to the province's top court, whether its online gaming regime would remain legal if Ontario-based gamblers mix with players based outside Canada. Lawyer Don Bourgeois specializes in gambling law, says the issue is simply, does the criminal code allow Ontario to make that policy choice, or does it prohibit the agencies that manage gambling? Or does it prohibit it? The agencies that manage gambling in BC, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and the four Atlantic provinces oppose Ontario's plan. They claim in court documents that people in the provinces that they're illegally gambling online with Ontario-regulated companies, and they say that the proposal could further fuel activity, such activity that is illegal. The case is due to be heard in court in November, but once again, his priorities appear to be booze and gambling rather than kids and long-term care centers and education. So, for example, instead of making sure that next June, when temperatures get hot, that kids can be in class because they will be air conditioned, he wants you to be able to have more fun and have more options for gambling with people from across the world. Yeah. A couple little updates. If you are in Jasper, thanks to Kit Rita, people from Jasper will finally find out that they may be able to return to their homes via a virtual meeting for residents. It is being held this morning. 5,000 people were told to leave the town nearly 3 weeks ago, and 20,000 visitors to Jasper National Park were also ordered out. Nearly 1/3 of the town's buildings are said to be destroyed. From Rita, who's in the area, she says that from her ear to the ground, the best estimates are that people will start to be allowed to return in about 3 weeks.
Okay.
Because they're still fighting. There's still some fires going on in the park, even though the side of the fire that's closest to the town over the course of the weekend was reported as 80% contained. And then the other thing that's going on, of course, there was a lot of rain in Quebec from the remnants of Tropical Storm Debbie. About 55 Quebec towns were hit hard on Friday by the storm. In the town of Rawdon, for example, it seems that they are cutting down trees to pave a makeshift road that got wiped out. The mayor, Raymond Frougeau, says if there was a medical emergency, they would have to go in on four-wheelers through the woods to get the people out. And if there was a fire, the fire trucks could not get through. There's about
I love Rawdon. It's a great little town. If you ever get a chance, go. It's a great little town.
Yeah. There's about 600 people stranded as of Sunday afternoon. 400 had been forced to leave their homes. There's a man in his 80s who was swept away by a river after a road collapsed in the Mauricie region and was found dead recently. A few municipalities in Quebec are under states of emergency after Friday's storm. Denis Boulanger, who speaks for Quebec's Public Safety Ministry, said landslides are another concern. 50 have already been reported.
Wow.
Quote, so today we're focusing on the going in the field and assessing the damage, assessing the danger related with these landslides, and then in some cases we will ask the people to evacuate. Insurance, because it's rain and flood, won't cover most of the damage for those who have lost a lot. Some neighbors haven't even been able to get an insurance agent to pick up the phone. Pierre Babinski, who's with the Insurance Board of Canada, urges patience. He says, If hundreds and or thousands of people call trying to reach their insurer at the same time, yes, they will register the call. They might open the claim, but it may take a little while before claims adjusters can call back. Quebec's Public Safety Ministry will be offering some financial assistance to those who have suffered damage because of the storms. So that's going on. And then in British Columbia, there are more than 400 wildfires burning, which is a significant jump over the last 48 hours due to lightning strikes and persistent dry conditions. Christine, some people who were camping at the Kinbasket Lake, I'm guessing just south of Valemount. That might be a wrong reference that got transcribed incorrectly. But just south of Valemount, which is a village of roughly 1,000 people, they said that a wildfire was 3.5 kilometers from that village, which prompted an evacuation order. After a couple of hours, the order was downgraded to an alert. They're saying that they had about 3 helicopters, but now that there are 3 bombers there as well. Valemount Mayor Owen Parkinson says the fire spread quickly in a region that's been experiencing persistent hot and dry conditions and recent thunderstorms. Quote, just knowing how quickly this can go, a lot of resources were thrown at this very quickly, unlike Alberta.
Yeah, no kidding.
The BC Wildfire Service says that crews are fighting the Canoe Road wildfire with support from air tankers, skimmers, and helicopters. And the same lightning storms that swept through the area on Saturday were forecast to continue over the weekend. Make sure that you have your evacuation materials ready and packed and at the door, because when you get the order, it's not time to start packing.
Go.
It's time to go. All right, Mr. Grizzly, I think we have a show.
We do indeed, sir.
Kits and Cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us, because we love making this for you. And yes, Tabby G, you are right. Not in Canada, but Athens in Greece is under a huge threat of wildfires. I think there were walls of fires at least like 25 meters high. And the country's Minister for Civil Protection says that half the country is under a high-risk warning for fires in Greece. So half the country. Greece is not a huge country to begin with. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. And you have the mouths from which we want the word to come. So tell your peeps and poops all about us. If you would like to support us, for example, by not missing an episode, you don't have to, thanks to the Ray Girl. She sponsored our pod page. So if you go to podpage.com/TheTrueNorthEagerBeaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words, or scan the QR code that Mr. Grizzly will make appear, I'm sure, under my chin. That way, if you click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the bat, let's try that again. When we have something fresh and ready for you, it will come directly to you. If you would like to help us in other ways, please surf on down to our YouTube page, True North Eager Beaver Media, and there you will find 3 buttons: like, share, and subscribe. And there's Kit Elaine right on time saying, have a beyond awesome day, everyone, and remember to smash the button before you leave. So smash them, and therefore you will join one of 5. You will be one of more than 5,000 now who have subscribed to our channel. And of course, it makes us happy.
Mm-hmm.
And a happy beaver and a happy grizzly is always a good thing.
Well, one would, have to know this because it's true.
It is true. Facts first. And if you would like to support us in other ways, the QR code by Mr. Grizzly's head there will bring you to our coffee page, which is our tip jar. And that you can put a little money in there if you like what we do and want to encourage us to do more. That's a coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. Please make a little donation there, show us some love, and you will get our undying gratitude, and your sex appeal will go up 37.2% instantly. We guarantee it. Just happens. As soon as you click send, poof, instant sex appeal.
Well, and it helps pay for things like all of this because the amounts of money to keep this show going keep continuing to go up because everybody knows things just get cheaper with time, right?
Oh, yes. Yes. And yours truly has a new computer arriving today that we have to work off. So I'm shaking
Yeah,
it.
that's
I'm shaking it.
yeah. That's
There you go, Lane Queen Douglas. Douglas shakes it for tips. Right on cue.
yeah, so we like legitimately, it's we've been joking about the hydration fund for a long time, but let's get serious here. It's about operational costs, and it's costing us more and more money to do this because I keep adding new equipment, lighting, new software. There are software services that I pay for on a monthly basis just to keep our head above water here. And it's now that I'm unemployed,
Yep.
I'm hoping to be starting work in September. I've got a couple of leads, but right now, I'm just going to give you a bit of a heads up here. Tomorrow, after tomorrow's show, I have to fly to New Brunswick for a family thing. I'm not going to give you any details. I've been asked to keep it quiet, but I have to go take care of some family business, and I'll be gone for a couple of days. We are going to have recordings for you, so
Hopefully.
the show must go on. The show will go on,
Yeah.
and I'm going to bring a couple of pieces of equipment with me on the road, so that if I'm able to do a live thing, I'll let you know in advance, sir, so that if we need to do a live thing, we can go ahead and do it. I have a new phone. I have new mics. We can probably do something in that manner. We'll see, but I'll bring a couple of pieces of equipment with me on my flight so that I can, give you some live stuff. It's just because there's a lot to take care of, and without getting into the details of it, because it's not my story to tell. But I have to go away for a few days to take care of some stuff, and that means I need to go and find somebody to take care of Lola while I'm gone, because the lady who normally does, unfortunately, in timing, she's on vacation. She leaves, I think, tonight, and she can't, she has somebody to take care of her dog, but I can't get a hold of that guy to get him to take care of. So juggling a lot of stuff at the moment, and I got a whole bunch of production stuff to get done today and tomorrow before I head out. So going to be a couple of long days for this old grizzly, I can tell you that.
Yeah. And if we're not able to do the pre-records because Mr. Grizzly showed me how, then I'll just go solo. But yes, we're going to have a little bit of a different week this week.
Yes.
Kids and Cubs.
Yeah.
All right. Because democracy is something that you do. If you are in Ward 15, if you are in Elmwood, Transcoda, I was always forgetting the Elmwood, La Salle, Villemar, Verdun, you have by-elections coming up. So please find out about your candidates of choice and volunteer to either help them or with the returning offices to make sure that they are properly staffed on by-election day. All right. Miss Sadika, I heard Douglas wants to watch Lola. Troublemaker. Actually, I really wouldn't mind that, to be totally honest. But I'd have to go to the Ottawa Beaver Lodge to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm not, Lola is a bit of an apartment dog, so maybe that would be possible. But
yeah, because you'd just keep her here. I'd give you a key. You could come in and take her out, walk her in. But you have to clean up her poop. That's the difficult part. Not everybody's capable of doing that.
oh, I can do that. That's no problem.
Okay.
That's if I was not, if you can't find anyone, let me know and I'll see if I can come to town.
Okay. Well, and you know what? You could do the show from the studio here.
Okay.
Right? It's a thought. It's a thought. Like
no, I could just.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have way more buttons than I do.
I would have it literally set up where all you have to do is just push go live.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I might. Then in that case, I might be able to help out.
That would be
if you're stuck.
Yeah. We'll talk after the show.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Remember, kids and cubs, it could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom?
Yeah. Never take your health for granted, mental and physical. I was grateful this past weekend to get out and play a round of golf. We shot 9 holes. My golf partner, he wanted to rent a cart because he had both his knees reconstructed in the last year. And I said, I'm going to join you in the cart because I find the walking 9 holes, I need a new pair of golf shoes, but golf shoes are expensive. I put new insoles in the ones I have. They're 20 years old. I'm going to buy some new ones, but not right now. There's other pressing matters. But I was so grateful to be able to get out and play a round of golf because when I messed up my shoulder this past spring. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to play. So we got out there and I took my first swing with my new club and I did not get I didn't hit the ball well. And then the second swing with my 3-wood on the fairway, didn't hit it well. First hole, it was a par 4 and I shot 6. Not terrible. Second hole, new driver, had swung the club a few times, got up and cracked it 240 yards. Right straight down the fairway. The new club made the difference because my older club, the shaft is flexible, which is good. You get the whip action like a hockey stick, right?
Right.
But it needs to be a little bit stiffer because I have a very fast swing. And what would happen is the club head would bend and I'd end up slicing constantly. This new one's slightly stiffer, so the head doesn't move on the shaft, just the shaft does. And as a result, I can nail it straight down the fairway each time. A par 4, par 5, I'm on the green in 3 shots. And then it's
putting
3 or 2, sometimes 2 shots I'm on the green. But usually on a par 5, 3 shots on the green, and then my short game, my putting game, I really got to work on. That's my problem.
All right.
That's my problem. So I shot a 55 on a par 36, which is not terrible, but and I haven't played since last summer, and I didn't know I'd be able to. So I was very grateful that my shoulder had healed up enough that I could get out and play around the golf, and I wasn't going full out. Because I was easy, and the guy said, I said, yeah, I just don't want to hurt myself again. I am getting older. The recovery time does take longer. So do not take your health for granted, physical or mental. When it's good, enjoy it for what it's worth, and live your life to the best of your abilities.
There's some good words of wisdom. Mr. Grizzly, please cue the cock. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, kits and cubs, we have a little bit of an Easter egg for you. It's Olympic related, actually. There was an Olympian from a past Olympics, because at these Olympics, people that have been denied medals or upgraded medals have had invited to special ceremonies at the Champions Park. And there was a Canadian that was affected by it, Derek Drouin, if you remember him, was a high jumper who had been awarded bronze in London 2012. But the Russian who had competed had been stripped of gold for doping. So on the 8th or the 9th, I think it is, not sure which date specifically, he and Eric Kynard from the United States were there at the Champions Park on Friday, and they got their upgraded medals at the ceremony. So the medal count doesn't increase for London, but there is one fewer bronze now and one additional silver. So congratulations to him. Thank you for championing clean sport. He said, I'm pained for Eric that he missed out on that opportunity. He obviously was on the podium, but there's nothing like being in the stadium among the people who watched you compete and listening to your own national anthem. And that's what he said about his co-competitor who did win the gold, who did get the chance to hear his national anthem in front of the people that he actually competed in front of, who watched it happen, which is the moment for which you could be like, you want your gold, but that's the moment. The moment is standing on that podium and having the crowd there and hearing your national anthem. So yeah,
cool, because they did that a few times this Olympic Games. I found there was a number of times when they did that. It was for a couple of different individuals.
Yeah. On Friday, Doyen said he didn't have any negative feelings towards the Russian competitor who he said was part of a Russian doping scandal that, quote, that was much more widespread than just any one individual athlete. I don't harbor any ill will toward him, he said. I don't think really any individual athlete in this scenario can really be or should really be held accountable in the way that maybe other doping scandals have been. So again, Canadian taking the high road like this. And so did the American. Kennard, who is now high performance director for USA Track and Field, said his experience in sport motivated him to try to ensure other athletes don't go through the same thing he did. Quote, I've been saying it for a while. I'm not bitter from my experience. I'm trying to make things better based on my experience.
Mm-hmm.
Athletics is an occupation. It's not an identity. And it's important to find either the silver or gold lining in who you are and not focus so much on what it is that you do because the world gets it wrong. Boom.
Well done.
All right. Have a be-terrific day, everyone.
I'll see you.